It's time for Shawn and Maya in the morning.
Quick pitch to Walter, looking for the record, cuts back, he's got it, he's out of it at 25 to the 26-yard line. Walter Payton becomes the National Football League all-time leading rusher.
Jordan, open, Chicago with the lead. The Chicago Bulls have won their 6th NBA championship.
Chicago has won the Stanley Cup. Palmero over the head of Jenks. Uribe charges, throws, out! And the White Sox have won the World Series.
A little bouncer slowly toward Bryant. He will glove it, throw to Rizzo.
It's in time, and the Chicago Cubs win the World Series.
What up, what up, what up? Welcome to Shawn and Maya in the morning on this Hump Day edition. Guys, I'm your boy, the Superback, Shawn Sierra. Thanks for tuning in. What a beautiful day here in the Chi. Let me tell you, it is gorgeous. It's going to be what? A high of 60 degrees today. Man, that's what I'm talking about. 60 degrees. Guys, if you're watching this on Facebook Live, well, then I guess you found us on Facebook. And if you're not following us on Facebook, do me a big favor. Go over to your Facebook page, look up SportsZone Chicago, and like it and follow us, okay? SportsZone Chicago. Now, if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, excellent. And if you're not subscribed to us on YouTube, what are you waiting for? Okay, go to YouTube, put in SportsZone Chicago, and subscribe. Okay, you'll get you'll get access to all 5 of our live shows that we have. Excellent content. Great stuff for you. If you're watching this on our app, excellent. Okay. Now, if you haven't downloaded the app, what are you waiting on? What are you waiting for? If you haven't downloaded the app, wherever you get your apps from, go download SportsZone Chicago. Wherever you download the apps from, go get SportsZone Chicago. And you can take us with you on the go. Check it out. And it will be very entertaining. As I said, we have 5 live shows. Okay. We have, our show plays 3 times a week and the other 4 once a week. Awesome. You have to make sure you check out who's the one guy we want to check out. What's Up, Cuz? The Humidors Podcast, Sports 101. Halitech Hall. Yep, check out all of them because they're all pretty damn good. Well, listen, you can also tweet the show. You can tweet us at SM_mornings, at SM_mornings. Oh, or you can tweet us at SportsZone Chi, at SportsZone Chi. That's CHI. Wow. Now, if you want to follow me, just me personally online, want to know what I did? Let me tell you what I did. Want to know what I did? Here's what I did. I made it nice and easy for you folks. Nice and easy. One handle for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, the Snapper. All one handle at the Shawn Sierra. If you want to follow my lovely co-host, Maya Kai, you can follow her on Facebook and Twitter at the Sports Chica. If you want to follow her on Instagram, because you do it just for the gram, then follow her at Maya_Akai. It's MAYA_AKAI. I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you. If I didn't bring him on, he is the guy who makes it run smoothly. He is the man behind the curtain. He is my Puerto Rican Swiss Army knife, Ivan Vargas. Ivan, what's up, Papa? How are you?
Just sending off some emails, Shawn. You know me.
Dude, I didn't get the link. You got to send it to Joe, bro.
I know. I thought I did, but I was like trying to do it, and you're calling me. I'm like, oh crap. But anyway, I'm good, man. I'm good. Joseph should have the link now. It looks like it's gonna be a good day out here today. But yeah, I'm good, man. How are you? You heard my fiasco this morning, or my struggles this morning. So I don't want to trouble anybody else.
Yeah, it's a little. It was nutso, dude. Nutso. Hey, Javi, what's up, Papa? How are you? Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. And we got a lot of great sports action to talk about a lot of stuff. We got bragging rights. We have spring training bragging rights, because you know how important spring training is in the big scheme of things. So we're excited about that. But yeah, so make sure you send Joe that link.
You got it. Yep.
Oh, okay, because he was just texting like, "Hey, I don't have it." So I'm like, "All right," and resend it to me too. So at the break, I can make sure I send it out.
All right.
All right. Guys, we have a phenomenal show, but we need you to get interactive with us today. So wherever you're watching this from, Facebook, our YouTube channel, or our app, wherever you're watching us from, okay, do me a favor. Leave a question or comment right there on the post. Okay, it'll come on the broadcast. It'll come to us, and then our super producer Ivan will put it up on the screen. We want you to get interactive with us. When I say we got a great show for you, I am not bull jiving. The usual cast of characters. We have my man Joseph Phillips is going to come on from 9 to 10, but at 10 o'clock, Lauren Cox Sports One. He is the host of the Locked On Bears podcast. He's going to call in. We have a couple of signings, a couple of Bear signings. Not the one we want, but that may be down the road. But Lauren Cox at 10 o'clock, and then at 11 o'clock, Adam Shalafu calling in, talking Bulls basketball with us. Man, it's frustrating to see these young guys. You have good games, you're in a lot of games, and then, man, Utah comes to town and they just they laid a smack down on the candy ass, and it was not fun to watch. So we're going to talk to Adam Shalafu about that. We're also going to talk to him about some interest in some of our players by some other organizations as the trade deadline approaches. So we have a lot to talk about with Adam at 11 o'clock. But guys, you know how we do. The first segment of every show is called Top of the Morning.
Just when you want it.
Top of the morning to you. Top of the morning to you. Top of the morning to you.
And the Top of the Morning segment is powered by the Chicago Crusader newspaper. And with that, we bring in their guy, we bring in our guy, we bring in your guy. He's the one and the only. He's QAnon himself. He's a sports editor over there at the Chicago Crusader newspaper. Our good friend, the one, the only, Joseph Phillips. Joseph, what's up, Papa?
Good morning, Papa. God bless.
How you doing?
Everything's great. Everything's great. Just getting ready for this beautiful day. And just thanking God for waking us up this morning.
Man, I tell you, there's a lot of people who didn't wake up. So yeah, you're right. It's definitely something to be thankful for. So overlooked, and we're often taken for granted that we open our eyes and get to bitch and moan about stupid stuff like sports.
Yeah, we lost a great yesterday in Elgin Baylor.
We did. Oh, wait, just keep taking my. Thank you.
I didn't see it on the rundown.
So it wasn't me. It wasn't
No.
Not this time. It wasn't you this time, Ivan.
So I just mentioned it casually,
if it's not Ivan going into one of the top of the morning segments, let me tell you, Shawn, the Blackhawks lost yesterday, the Bulls win yesterday, and this and this. Look, Ivan, that was my bad. Now Joe just comes and blows it all up. Yeah,
well, you did play for the Thunder, so I'm sorry, man. I didn't try to steal your thunder.
I did. Well, listen, guys, let's get to the first top of the morning topic. The Blackhawks, baby. The Chicago Blackhawks beat the Florida Panthers 3-2. They hang on. They had Kubalik, Suter, and Soderberg had goals for the Blackhawks. Patrick Kane had 2 helpers, moving him into 4th place in the all-time points list by U.S.-born players. He just passed Keith Tkachuk. So he is 4th in points from all U.S.-born players. Huge milestone for him. And what I thought was really, really cool, and this, Kevin Lankinen stopped 33 of 35 shots. I'll tell you, Florida had some phenomenal chances, and they put the pressure on all day. But what I thought was really, really cool is before the game, the Blackhawks honored Patrick Kane for his 1000th game that he played last week. Okay. And he was on the road. So they didn't get to do it. They were going to do it when they came home. So they did it last night. And what I thought was really, really cool was the Florida team was not allowed out there during the celebration or during the video presentation, but Coach Q was out there.
Wow.
You talk about it's a class act, because that's his boy, man. You know,
Yeah.
He basically got him when he was 18, 19 years old, and coached him till he was a superstar, a league MVP. And it was just a class act by the man we love as the Stash, Coach Q.
Yes, the man himself, Q. Yeah, so at the end of the day, you know, it was perfect timing. You know, this is a milestone year for Patrick Kane. I mean, like 1,000 games and the assists on record that he just, you know, got into. And then also just seeing his coach there, it seemed like it was perfectly planned out by design. And they got the win on top of that. So, you know, that just adds the cherry on top. And just to see him out there with his little one, you know, and I think his fiance or his missus, he was out there.
I don't think he's married to her. I think that's just the mother of his child, his girlfriend.
Okay. Well, I pray that they get married. But the future Mrs. Kane, you know, along with the baby, you know, it was good to see them out there on the ice supporting PK.
Yeah, it was. It was really cool to see that. And what was also really cool was his entire team wore 88 jerseys during warmups.
Wow, that's even better.
Yeah, that's a cool sign of the organization. And some of the captains, you know, who kind of went behind the scenes to make that happen. I thought that was a pretty cool gesture. Everyone wearing 88 Patrick Kane jerseys in the warmup. It just shows the respect that they have for him. It shows what a phenomenal player Patrick Kane is. And that, you know what, sometimes it's kind of funny. We don't realize how much respect he has because we love him as Patrick Kane. All right. The long-haired mullet kid from, you know, back in 08, 09. And we kind of see him grow up and we consider him a star, but we don't realize how great. Sometimes we don't realize how great he is. He is a superstar, and he is a superstar, and that has grown up right before our eyes. And, you know, when you talk to the national media, they just have rave reviews about Patrick Kane and his skills. And sometimes we take it for granted because we see it on a daily basis. You know, sometimes we took Mike for granted back in the day, you know, because it's Mike. He's going to drop 30. He's going to do his thing. You know, we knew he was the best player, but we still kind of took him for granted because we see it all the time. And I think that's the same can be said for Patrick Kane, because, you know, when you talk about him nationally, he's on the lips of everybody when it comes to every MVP conversation just about every single year.
Yeah, and I think the added attention that comes with Kane is that he is an American-born player, so that's kind of a rare commodity just to see him being born here in the United States and still be able to produce at the high level that he has. Most of the top players come from Canada, Russia, etc. Even some of the top Black players, they come from Canada. You know, so,
yeah.
So, you know, Canada is the home of hockey. So at the end of the day, that's a rarity to see a U.S.-born player, you know, pretty much put up those type of stats.
You know, he's fourth now. Okay. He's fourth. He's fourth. He just passed Keith and Chuck. Okay. And on that list, it's a pretty cool list. But him being fourth shows you how awesome he is. So what is how many points does he have total? He has over 1,000 points. And hold on for 1 second.
Bless you. God bless you.
Thank you. He has over 1,000 points. Now, mind you, he's played 11 years in the league. Do you realize? So I was looking at this yesterday. The points. Do you know? I think you should know who the points leader is in the NHL, the all-time points leader.
It got to be Gretzky, right?
Yeah, he's Gretzky. So Gretzky has more assists. He has more assists than the second person on that list, which is Jaromir Jagr.
Wow.
Jaromir Jagr has 1,921 points, and I believe Gretzky has 1,934 assists.
He was like,
not to mention his almost 1,000 goals.
wow.
So he has 980 something goals. You see that, you're like,
that's untouchable.
Yeah, I was telling someone yesterday, I'm like, that record will never be broken.
That's right.
It'll never be broken, due to the longevity that you have to play, but just the amount, the quality of seasons you have to have year in and year out. I mean, you'd have to, if you played 10 years at 100 points a season,
right?
That's only 1,000 points.
You got to start at 14.
You know what I mean? Yeah, you got to think about it. Like, wait a minute. Think about this. You have to play. You played 10 years in the NHL at 100 points a season, which is tough to get.
Right.
That's 1,000 points. That's only 1,000 points. If you play 15 seasons at 100 averaging 100 points a season, that's only 1,500 points. Wayne Gretzky has 2,857 points.
You gotta like really, man. And it's funny because Wayne Gretzky came in when the league was not ready for him at all. Like it was a different type of. It was like we took LeBron and put him in the 50s. You know what I'm saying? It was similar to that because I feel like the speed that he was playing at.
No LeBron.
Oh, okay.
Like Michael.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to stir the pot. I just wanted to stir the pot. But yeah, it was a player that I feel like was just out of place in the timeline, in history, and he just happened to be a dominant player.
Hey, you guys remember the cartoon Pro Stars? Bo Jackson, Wayne Gretzky, Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
When I first saw that cartoon, my mind was like, man, why they got Gretzky up here? Because back then, you didn't have like the internet and stuff like that to look up stats and everything. You just had to go by what the announcers were saying. He's the great one. He's the great one. Wayne's World. The whole era. And then I realized, I was like, wait up. This guy just obliterated the record books.
Wasn't even close.
Amazing.
He played 20 seasons in the NFL. NHL. Okay, 20 seasons. That tells you he averaged. Are you sitting down? Are you sitting down? 100 and just under 143 points a season.
Ooh.
143 points a season is what he averaged.
Wow.
And this 143 points.
43 points?
143 a season. That's a good 3 seasons for some people.
I'm like 143 points. No, I'm just playing.
I'll tell you what, it was it's amazing what he did. And to see Patrick Kane, like I said, Patrick Kane only has a little over 1,000 points. And he got his 1,000 points last year, and Coach Q was there for it as well, which was pretty cool. But just you think of Patrick Kane and all the great things he's done for this organization, for the National Hockey League. I think it's awesome. It just goes to show you what a phenomenal athlete he was. And as phenomenal an athlete as he was, and as big a superstar as he is, he's still not close to the pinnacle of being the best NHL player ever.
That's how I feel about LeBron and Michael. Like Kane is more on the LeBron level, and then when it comes to Michael, it's just like, you see what I mean? It's like
another category.
I
agree. I hear you. But I will say this, I won't, because we're not going to bring LeBron into the conversation.
He's banned from this show.
No, nothing's banned because then you're gonna go on a LeBron bashing tour, and we don't need a LeBron bashing
now.
tour.
He's injured. I have nothing to say. Like he's injured now. You don't have to worry about any of his antics.
He's injured, so now I won't pick on him. He's injured, so I'll leave him alone right now. Like that's what
antics.
He'll be back with 3 new players. Trust me, when he comes back, he's gonna have Oladipo and who else? The guy from Cleveland, Andre Drummond will be on.
Drummond.
Yeah, he's gonna have a whole lot of guys on the squad when he comes back.
Dude, you just
man, he'll be okay.
Did he piss in your Cheerios or something, dude? Because you just there's no let up, dude, on LeBron. None.
Until he stops doing what he's doing, and then I'll stop. But until then, let the party begin.
Wow, dude. You're out of control. That's why we call you QAnon Joe, dude.
Yeah. I still love y'all, though. It's all good. Still love you, though.
I love you too, man. We love you too, brother. Well, but listen, with this Blackhawks thing, the Blackhawks had a rough stretch in this, recently. They lost 4. They ended their 4-game skid. They were having a tough time with the teams from Florida, with Tampa. They're playing Tampa Bay. They're playing Florida, and they just weren't doing well. And that's a barometer for me, or for them, I should say. And they'd had a rough time. They started off pretty good, but the last 4 just were, not where the Blackhawks wanted to be. And I think that really shows them with where they're at overall. If you can hang with the team, and even if it's a close loss and you can hang with them, you're like, okay, fine. But when you continually lose to a team, and I don't know why the NHL scheduled this, because they had a 3-game set in Chicago against the Lightning,
right?
They had 2 in Tampa. Against Florida. Then they went to Tampa. Then they went to Florida again. So it's like, why are they playing all these? Why are they scheduling the Blackhawks for all those Florida teams all at once? That was a little bothersome to me.
Yeah,
that was a lot of bothersome to me. But I don't know. Chicago. What do we have? 35 points. And I don't know. I just think that this was a big win for us, because it finally got us off the schneid off a 4-game losing streak.
Right.
But it just kind of maybe he can get us in the right direction, get us jump started, because they need to get on a run. They're at the bottom of the playoff picture. They're in, but they're they're back and forth just depending on the day, in or out. So they need to just start putting some wins together. And this week they have they're back at Florida. Florida's back again tomorrow.
Wow.
Then they're home at Nashville for 2 on Saturday and Sunday. Then they're home against Carolina. So, and I guess that just had to do with COVID, because they probably didn't want teams traveling as much. So if you can get a 2-game set in, a 3-game set, it'll save on that. But man, when you get scheduled with 2 games against Florida, Florida's in 3rd place in the Central with 44 points behind Tampa Bay. Who's been whooping our ass. That's a rough one.
Yeah, I think like you were saying, it's all by design. But the thing is, with this tough schedule, I think it knocked the Blackhawks off balance a little bit, because they, for the first month of the season, they've been playing very good, consistent hockey, and over these last few weeks, it's kind of like, it seemed like it's just knocking them off balance mentally. Like their focus, they haven't had any, how can I put it? They haven't had any easy opponents, just put it like that.
Yeah.
Every opponent that's coming their way, they have the possibility to win the Stanley Cup. So you can't let up against the Tampa Bay. You can't come out half-hearted against the Tampa Bay. You got to go 100% against the Tampa Bay Lightning. If you come out half-hearted, they're going to expose you. And I think when the Hawks probably needed a little rest from a tough schedule, and here comes Tampa Bay again. You see what I mean? So, and then you got to have the energy to play against a Tampa Bay like that. You got to be able to play every possession like it's your last possession.
You brought a good point, dude. That's a great point, because if you watched the game yesterday, when they played Florida, Florida's all over the place, dude. The Hawks were on a power play, And it looked like it was even strength. It looked like even strength because Florida was just able to get to the puck so quickly. And even though they were in the box, in the box set for the box defense, they were still able to get sticks in the passing lane, attack the man with the puck. It's scary to see and eerie to see a Florida team like that, a Tampa Bay team, that we played before them, so similar to the Blackhawks back in their heyday. Their speed was damn near unmatched. And the things that they did, not just on offense, but on defense as well, killing the penalties. You had good penalty killers, but you also had guys back, you also had forwards back checking. You also had forwards with sticks in the passing lane. You also had them guys fighting for the pucks. And it's not the same anymore because the speed is gone. And so when that's gone and you see the level that they had played at for a long time kind of diminish, it's noticeable. And then when you see another team play like the Hawks did, you're like, well, why can't they just do that like they did before?
Right.
But man, it was tough. It was tough watching them.
And I think Javier brought up a good point. He said, do you guys think a lack of fans and noise is affecting Hawks and Bulls? Yeah, I think that's another motivator. You do need the fans to push you in some cases, especially when you're fatigued and you're tired. I know there's been plenty of times, and I know you can relate to this, Shawn, where you're playing on a field, and sometimes you'll be like, man, I don't know if my body can do this. But you hear the fans, they like, you know what? We need you guys to beat them. We need you guys to get us this W. We need you guys to get us this win. And you find something from within you to rise up, and you give it the best that you got. You give it 100% effort. And I think, like I said, I think that's what the Hawks are missing now. They're missing the fans to get them that extra boost. So when you play against teams like that, you can hear the motivation of the fans behind you telling you not to give up.
Well, you can't help but think it doesn't affect them. I mean, it has to affect them because that's the madhouse on Madison.
Right.
Fans start cheering during the national anthem and they don't stop.
Right.
So, you're used to that energy. You're used to that level of intensity coming from the fans and feeding off it. Yeah, it affects them. Bulls, I say yes, they're just not as raucous as Blackhawk fans. But yeah, they're definitely missing the fans as well. And you can pump all the fan noise you want in there, but it's just not the same. You don't have that electricity. You know what I thought was really funny? So I'm watching the game yesterday, and then you know how they have the 3 stars at the end of the game for the Blackhawks? The 3 stars of the game are number 3 with a gold. And so Kevin Lankinen was the number 1 star. So he comes out.
Wow.
Kane was number 2 star because he had 2 assists. And then Lankinen was the number 1 star. He comes out and he starts waving. Like, what the hell are you waving at, stupid? There's nobody there. There's nobody in the stands. Stop waving. Maybe he was doing it for the camera. I don't know. But like, who are you waving at, dude? No one's in the stands.
He was getting flashbacks from his childhood, like
nobody's
hey,
there.
When I make it to the NHL, this is gonna be me.
well, I think the same thing when I'm watching like Bulls pregame and I'm watching Stacey and Adam talking. I'm like, why is there a split screen? Like Adam is clearly looking at Stacey right now. Like he's clearly turning, looking at every word Stacey's saying. Why is there a split screen? I don't know. It blows my mind. I got you.
Well, no, that's because of COVID. They got the screen in between them. That's what it is. That's why they're not right next to each other. There's a screen. That's why they have this. They don't want to show the split. They don't want to show the divider because sometimes in some broadcasts they have, but NBC Sports Chicago decided they're not going to show the dividing screen, the glass between them. So that's why they have the individual cubes like we have here. So
I'd be like, show the screen. I'm down to show the whole thing. Be real about it.
Well, listen, we got to take a quick break, and on the other side of the break, we have more top of the morning topics. So don't go anywhere, folks. Keep it locked right here. Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago.
Hi, this is George Iceman Gervin. I listen to Shawn and Maya in the morning.
1-2.
AutomotiveMap.com presents the Sports Flash
on 1330 and 95.9 The Zone.
Anthony to Kane, Dujador off left point. Long wrist shot, he scores! And it may have been tipped in front by Pius Suter.
The action on the Blackhawks radio network. Chicago able to snap a 4-game skid with a 3-2 win over the Panthers. Kevin Lankinen with 33 saves in net. Patrick Kane with a pair of assists. First win against Florida in 5 tries this season. Last night's matchup, the opener of the 6-game homestand. Chicago had dropped 6 of 7 overall heading into last night's action. The team square off again Thursday night, 7 o'clock puck drop. Bulls and Cavaliers tonight, 7 o'clock tip-off at the United Center. Chicago coming off Monday's 120-95 home loss against Utah. The White Sox beat the Cubs 3-1 in Tuesday's spring training action. Dallas Keuchel, 4 innings, 1 hit, 3 strikeouts. Chuck Sanders, that's the Sports Flash, 1330-95.9 The Zone.
At CDW, we get your employees need their data to go where they go.
That's why we started tattooing company data right on them.
Ow!
Now they have permanent access.
Ouch. Well, at CDW, we can transform your data center painlessly, on-prem and in the cloud, with a Dell technology solution so your data isn't just available, it's powerful.
Whew. I was about to get these Q4 financials tattooed on my neck.
Close call. For technology that moves you forward, trust Dell Technologies and IT orchestration by CDW. People who get it. Learn more at cdw.com/Dell Tech.
Okay.
Indeed knows unexpected demand can stretch your business thin.
Leon speaking.
Like at Leon's Plumbing.
Sorry, quickest we can get there is next Friday.
To stay out of hot water, he needs to get started hiring right away.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. And the moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first sponsored job post. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back to Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago on this Hump Day edition, and we're back, baby. We are back. So next top of the morning topic, because we have a few top of the morning topics we got to get to. I'm liking this next one. Oh, I'm liking this next one. The White Sox, baby. Yeah. See, there you go with that nonsense.
Whoa, Nelly.
The White Sox beat the Chicago Cubs yesterday in Mesa at Sloan Park, 3-1. Dallas Keuchel threw 4 innings, 1 hit, no earned runs, no walks, 1 strikeout. The White Sox got RBIs by Danny Mendick, Adam Eaton, and Lewis Robert. Jake Arrieta was on the bump for the Cubs. He went 5 2/3 innings, 5 hits, earned run, no walks, 3 strikeouts.
Wow.
Jake Arrieta looked good yesterday, though. And
yeah, Jake was there. One thing I noticed about the White Sox yesterday, because my wife turned on the game, it was the 8th inning. And I was like, we got our 3rd string, our 4th string guys in. What is Luis Robert still doing in the game? He's trying to get a W.
Wow.
Like they're thirsty for a win? What's going on? I mean, come on. Put your 3rd string guys in. The game was pretty much over. It was 1-1. And Tony La Russa still got his starters in the game. So I don't know what was going on with that.
Yeah, here's where you start blowing that nonsense. Because there's one starter in the game doesn't mean the starters are in the game. You have, if you looked at the box score and you see all the guys who are in the game at the time, then you see, obviously you didn't look at the box score because you wouldn't be coming at me with that nonsense. Okay. You'd be coming at me with that malarkey.
I'm waking you up. I'm getting you a little smelling something. That's baby. That's
you had Danny Mendick at the game. All right, Danny's not exactly. He's in exactly. He's in there. You don't even know who the heck he is. You're like, So they play a couple of innings, and sometimes you have to have some guys get a little more time. You have to add, some guys need a little more time. You know what? And as we're getting closer and closer to the end of the season, and of spring training, you're going to have guys that, hey, listen, Now you got to start playing most of the game. You know, some are going to play all the game. You know, and it's just you start to amp it up as the spring training winds down, and that's what it's doing. You know, it's just 24th. You know, opening day is April 1st. We're talking a week. Okay, so these guys got to start getting used to playing 9 innings, because remember, the first day they were only playing 6,
right?
And you still had to get everybody's looks in. You know, you couldn't take out Yohan Moncada, Tim Anderson, Lou Bob, Eloy, because you had to get everybody else's looks in. So they had to play 2 or 3 innings, and then you still had that. Then they went back to 9, you know, in the middle of spring training, which was good. So these guys who would have played more early on, due to the 6 inning games that they had, were getting little. We're not getting their amount of proper at bats in. We're not getting their work in. So now you're gonna have to keep them in longer. You know what? Hey, you signed up for this. It's baseball. It's not basketball. It's not hockey. It's not football. You should be able to play every single freaking day, unless you're hurt.
That was a good move. That was a good move by Tony to change. You know, like I know he personally doesn't like the Cubs. You know, I understand that, and then the White Sox definitely don't like the Cubs. So I wasn't surprised about yesterday's Bush League move by Tony La Russa by putting in his starters in the 8th inning, where it could have ended with a tie, and we would have all went home happy.
We knew what he did. We knew what he did.
Bush, what do you mean you put him in? It's not like he
saw what happened.
Right? He wanted to get the win. Tony wanted to get the
win.
He wanted to get the win for his team. Like that.
It was a Tiger.
Look, we're about to transition into the real stuff now. Tony wants to win against the Cubs. It's a symbolic type of a gesture. Tony wanted to win to, I don't know, give him a little pep or whatever.
Right.
Pat him on the back, pat him on the butt. Hey, good job, guys. Make sure you guys keep these guys under your thumb. That was the move.
Yeah, that's all that happened. So not to take away from your W, but we saw what happened. Cubs fans aren't crazy. We know what's going on. We have discernment.
No, you're drunk. That's all. Actually, I can't even say that because the White Sox got voted. They just got voted the booziest fans in all of baseball.
We got our number 1,
and we're damn good at it too. Let's not get it twisted. Don't forget what you heard.
They got their own beer can. Goose Island gave them their own beer can and everything.
Yeah, they did. They did. Next top of the morning topic. Moving on over the weekend, the Bulls. Man, they fall to the Utah Jazz 120-95. This was on Saturday. Zach LaVine led the way with 27 points. Thaddeus Young or Thaddeus Johnson, he had, as Stacey likes to call him, he had 27. I'm sorry, he had 14 points. Sato finished with 13 points, 4 dimes. The Utah Jazz were led by Spider Mitchell, 30 points. Rudy Gobert, 21 points, 10 boards, and a career high 9 blocks. You know, there's too many games that the Bulls are playing they're playing close to have, and maybe this is just the clunker of the that you have. It just, they all happen. Everybody has a clunker, but man, this is not the time to be having a clunker when you're jockeying for playoff position.
Yeah, and plus, this is definitely not the time to keep losing the type of games they're losing. But we have one of the hardest schedules in the second half of the season. I mean, like, have you taken a look at the schedule? Everything we play, it looked like they're going to be above 500 at least, and we struggle against teams above 500. Now, one thing I noticed in that Utah Jazz game, the Jazz are pretty deep. Okay, what team is not deep? You at least have to show up to the game. And I don't think we're getting that quote-unquote high level of play from Kobe White anymore, because I think his confidence is a little down since he's been benched. And then Wendell Carter Jr., no offense against Wendell Carter, but he's in his head too much. I don't know what's going on. You know, like I don't know if he's losing his confidence. I don't know. Like,
we talked about this, Joe. He has this soft mentality. Like you saw how Dwight Howard babied him. He sunned him. Dwight Howard sunned him in that game that they played. It was like, and I agree with you, but at a certain point, Wendell's got to grow up. Yeah,
he does eventually. But the Bulls are still young, And the trade deadline is coming up pretty soon. And I just hope that Laurie, can step up tonight. And if he steps up tonight, maybe that can change AK's mindset, because right now, teams are coming after Laurie.
Yeah, don't worry. Don't worry about taking it. My next top of the morning.
Oh, no.
That's fine. That's fine. Sorry, you can host the show if you want it.
Oh, man.
The next top of the morning topic, and Ivy, you got to separate that at the bottom. Those are two separate points that I gave you on the rundown. Don't put it on the same screen. It's all right. So the next top of the morning topic, Markkanen and Porter. Otto Porter Jr. and Lauri Markkanen are drawing some interest at the trade deadline. This is a decision that they have to make. Are they gonna pull the trigger and move Markkanen? Are you gonna keep him and put him in allow your player development department to work with him? I don't know. I mean, Otto Porter Jr., I say let him go. Definitely, if people are asking for him, trade him, because now you get that money off the books.
Right.
You can get players back. You can get draft picks back, or if you can get players back with expiring contracts, like Otto's is, that's fine. That'll come off the books as well next year. But Lauri, you still got to. I think you still have to hold on. I'll say this, and I'll stick to this. Javi's like, get him out of here. I'll say this. Yeah, he ain't playing. I'd say keep Lauri around to the end of the year. Okay, see how well he does. Again, you have this development department in your organization for the first time in ages, ever. So now these players are going to be developed. We've seen the potential of Lauri. Can we get him consistent? Can he stay healthy? I don't know. And the part about it that makes you say keep him is this. The training staff for the Bulls has been very suspect, going all the way back to Luol Deng, okay? And his spinal tap that was necessary. Oh, you're fine. Don't worry about it. Derrick Rose's injuries. And so now that they have a new training staff, I want to see how they handle injuries. And it seems that right now they're handling them okay. They're handling them pretty well. Now, if they can, that doesn't mean Lauri's exempt, because Lauri seems to keep getting hurt.
Right.
But hopefully his downtime is shortened by this new training staff, because if his downtime and his injury time is shortened, he might be someone that you may want to consider keeping around, because as we've seen, this guy can drop 20 or 30 in a heartbeat. This guy can do that on a consistent basis when he's healthy. But when he's healthy is the operative phrase.
Yeah, that's true. And in order for you to put up those type of numbers, you have to be available. You have to be on the floor. And one thing I noticed at the game when I was there, I saw, and not to keep getting on Wendell Carter Jr., but someone bumped his shoulder, and he was like, ow, like he was in so much pain. But I don't know if it was a stinger or not, but my thing was like, oh, no, not again. Not another injury. We can't take this, like these weird injuries are coming out of nowhere. So I don't know if that's just a credit to the organization that these injuries keep happening, and because they're playing guys out of position. And Lauri shouldn't be down there. I guess he shouldn't be down there physically banging, but he's a 7.
What are you talking about? He should be down there banging. No way. You're complaining the fact that he was shooting only 3-pointers last year with Boylan. Now he's down there as a 7-footer. Now he's down there banging. Now you're like, yeah, maybe you should. Where do you want Lauri to be?
Yeah, but here's the deal, Shawn. He got there banging there. Every time he start banging, he gets hurt. I wouldn't say he's a weakling, but come on, bro. We're gonna have to get somebody more physical down there. We need to bring in somebody with a little bit more muscle, because he can't handle the physicality of the day-to-day responsibilities that they're asking him to do. So if he can't do the job, then we need to bring somebody in that can do the job. But these little injuries that we keep seeing, like, your shoulder getting scratched, your knee getting bumped, and then you're out for 2 to 3 weeks, that I don't know if that's more toward the player being mentally weak, or it's just the fact that we're just injury prone?
That's a very legitimate point. Could he be injury prone? I think I'm leaning toward yes, but I also think that he's got to man up a little more as well. I think all of him, Wendell Carter Jr., I think they need to man up a little bit. Okay. You get, so you mean to tell me that back in the day when the NBA was much more physical, when they're actually assaulting you as you're going to the rim, you had guys playing 75, 80, all 82 games.
Right.
I mean, Michael plays 82 games just about every year in his career, and he's getting destroyed by the Pistons, by the Heat, by the Knicks. Even Charlotte got into some of the physical play, and you still play 82 games. And the advancement in technology is so far greater now than it was back in the 90s. But these players I need load management. I need to take ibuprofen, but don't sit out.
Right.
So it's bothersome, and sometimes you just need to man up. Sometimes you just need to play through some pain. Sometimes you just need to be a freaking man, be a freaking professional. You're getting paid millions and millions of dollars.
Right.
All right. Don't sit out because of a sore shoulder or a sore leg. Okay. If you're hurt or you're injured, fine. I get it.
Right.
Sometimes you got to fight through some shit because people pay a lot of hard-earned money to go see you. And I mean, and granted, no one's paying money now because they're not fans in the stands.
Right.
But nonetheless, if I'm watching you, I still want to see you play. I still don't want it's bothersome to a city that has such a hardworking persona to see people. Oh, I have to take a day off because they bumped and they got hurt. You're talking about people with 2 or 3 and 4 and 5 kids who feel sick and they got, hey, sorry, I got to go to work.
Right.
I got to get this done.
Right.
And that's the mentality that these guys don't have. Like, oh, I'll just wait until I feel better. No, stop it. Let them drop. They need to drop, be a man, and say, hey, I need to play. I only have 82 games. Or this year's what is still 60?
Right.
Okay. You only play a certain amount of times. You don't need to go to work every day.
Right. And that's why I feel sad about talking about this, because I'm just like, I don't want to have to talk about how soft you are every day. Like I want to be able to at least say, you know what, this man, when it comes down to going to war with this team, I know this guy's going to be there to fight. But I can't say that with these guys because the most consistent player on the team is Zach LaVine and Thaddeus Young, the 2 most consistent players.
Mm-hmm.
After that, it's a question mark. I know that our veteran Garrett Temple, he plays well. He plays consistently, but
where's he been? He's been hurt.
He's 38 years old. Like we can't depend on him to carry this team. We can't depend on him helping Zach out. So we're gonna have to get in. We're gonna have to bring in a scorer like a DeMar DeRozan or somebody like that, or somebody that can take that load off of Zach and be able to sustain the physicality of the day-to-day grind of the NBA.
I'm listening. If the Bulls are talking marketing for Lonzo, man, I'm listening. I'm listening to that. Believe me, I want Lowry. I want Lowry here, but you get a good point guard to settle everything down, to settle and run this offense. Man, that's priceless. That's priceless, dude. When you have a point guard who can run an offense smoothly, efficiently, be a facilitator, and knock it down a couple threes if necessary.
Right,
man.
Would you love to have DeMar DeRozan in the backcourt with Zach?
Yeah, but I mean, I want.
Or you want a point guard?
I would rather have a true point guard.
Okay.
And, because DeMar DeRozan's a good player. He's a great player.
Right.
But just because great players, there's got to be a fit.
Right.
You can't just put great players together and expect them to work.
Right.
Okay. I think if you put a great point, you even just put a point guard in the Bulls rotation, it changes this team dramatically. A legitimate, established, a veteran. Give me 2-3 years in the league, 4 years in the league point guard. Man, then it's a whole different story. But if God forbid you bring Alonzo Ball in here,
yeah,
that's his natural position as point guard.
Right.
I think that takes this Bulls team to the next level. And there's a few more levels that they need to get to, but they've taken a step forward. Just who they're giving back in return is the question.
And you know what I was thinking, Sean? The reason why I said DeMar DeRozan is because if New Orleans try to like lowball us and say, you know what, we want a first round draft pick along with a starter, we're gonna be like, no, we're not gonna trade a starter and a first round draft pick for Alonzo Ball. We're not doing that. He will be a free agent this offseason, and he wants to come to the Bulls. So if we get DeRozan in here, get rid of Otto Porter Jr., because I think DeRozan making like $26 million a year. See if the Spurs would like to try to, help revamp Otto Porter's career with the trade. $28 million from him, $26 million from DeRozan. Get them two in the backcourt, then go get Lonzo in free agency next year or this year at the end of the season. Bring him in, and you have a 3-guard lineup of Lonzo Ball, Zach LaVine, and Lamar DeRozan. And
you want to keep Kobe on the second unit?
Yep. 6-man coming off the bench, and and then we can keep adding. Then we can get a physical presence, maybe a LaMarcus Aldridge. Maybe he'll like to come here and play the rest of his career here in Chicago, and we'll definitely be competitive with that team. I believe that.
Okay. All right.
Just a thought.
All right.
Not saying it's gonna happen, but just a thought.
Well, the next top of the morning topic is Ray Lopez. Ray Lopez gets sent down to the alternate site for the White Sox. He gets sent down, which means Carlos Rodon has the number 5 slot in that rotation. Let me tell you, I'm starting to like this more and more. Lopez was said he still wants to be a starter, so he's going to still be pitching down in the minor leagues or in their alternate location, because I don't know what the status is of the minor league season. Like they had to cancel it last year, but they still want him as a starter. He had some options. I don't think Carlos Rodon had any options, so you couldn't send him down. Plus, Carlos Rodon has been pitching better.
Right.
You got the 3 studs. You got Giolito, Keuchel, and Lynn.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got Dylan Cease, who people are anticipating having a breakout season. That's your 4th. And the 5th starter was the one that was in question. Now, you're not going to put Kopech there, not this year. He's still going to come out of the bullpen, which I'm okay with. That's fine. Right. Garrett Crochet coming out of the bullpen. He's eventually going to be a starter. I'm okay with that this year. So you needed that 5th guy, and there was a battle between Ray Lopez and Carlos Rodon. Carlos Rodon won it. He's a lefty. He's got a stupidly nasty slider.
Right.
So and he's got some moxie. He's got a little bit of experience. I can see them. I can understand that. But if someone gets hurt, someone gets COVID, somebody needs a break, here comes Ray Lopez to spot start. I'm good with this move.
Yeah, and I can't keep saying this enough. You guys are stacked from top to bottom. I mean, like it's almost like you're playing with a full deck. You got the ace of spades, the big joker, the little joker, etc. My whole thing is you guys have surplus. So if you need to call up an emergency starter, and then y'all have competition at that 5th rotation position. So if he doesn't do the job, guess what?
Lopez will be back up in a heartbeat.
Right. So it's not guaranteed that 5th rotation spot is given to you. So if you don't perform, you're out of here. And then also I just want to say thanks, Sean.
For what?
To you for not exposing the Cubs guy that got busted with 100 pounds worth of meth. This is equivalent to the Esteban Loaiza story. So I got an equal.
Because you guys would have brought up Esteban Loaiza. I'm like, I don't need to go down that route.
I knew it. I want to say this, Sean. Do you think that why didn't they have the same, or did they have the same type of mentality with Rondon coming out? Like, why release him? Was it just to see if he got some nibbles? Was it to see if did they really not want him back? I mean, what was it? What was the whole the idea behind letting him go and then bringing him back? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why couldn't you have this mentality then? You know what I mean? You almost lost him. Like the Cubs I felt like the Cubs are ready to go ahead and pick him up.
You know what? So sometimes you can't even explain it, dude. Sometimes you just wonder why teams do what they do. I mean, look. I mean, no need. You don't have to look any further than the lakefront. Like, why are you doing what you're doing?
Right.
It doesn't make sense to a lot of people, and sometimes they have a plan. Their plan is not told to us. So it's understandable why a lot of times fans are like, what are you doing? Why can't this is dumb? And we'll go off on them because we don't understand what their vision is. So I don't know.
Then you can add in there, Shawn, that once he mentioned the Cubs name, he was like, Jerry was like, go get that boy. Go get him. Go get him and bring him home. We don't want him going over there to the Cubs. Shut that down immediately. And then we'll deal with him once he gets announced. Because I think they're going to revisit that with him. If he starts acting crazy and messing up, eventually they're going to revisit that and be like, listen here, this is your last opportunity, okay? We got Lopez coming up in the spring. If you don't want to be here, guess what? There's a lot of guys that love to have your job.
Well, so, I don't think they're going to have an issue. I don't think they're going to have an issue with people performing because everybody knows there's talent.
Right.
No one's going to sit back and rest on their laurels. Just a couple of years ago, Carlos Rodon was the opening day starter.
Right.
And now he's at number 5. So trust me, I don't think that people are taking anything for granted on the White Sox. They understand there's competition. They understand there's certain places that you're probably not going to get in. You're not going to beat out Yohan Moncada. You're not going to beat out Lou Bob. You're not going to beat out Eloy. You're not going to beat out TA7. You're not going to beat out Jose Abreu. You're not taking Grandal's spot. There's only a couple of spots that you can get in where you fit in. So trust me, I don't believe that anybody who comes to the White Sox, I don't believe anybody is taking anything for granted because there's just too much competition on the roster. Too much.
That's right. It's win or go home.
Win or get your ass sent down to the alternate site. That's what it is. Going to go to Schaumburg.
At least you guys show all your minor league games on TV. Like you get some TV time, so don't worry.
You might want to consider it. Trust me, you might want to consider it because you don't have Jack Spitt over there on the Marquee Network.
You're going to the Charlotte Knights tonight, okay? So just be ready. And pretty light bulbs out there.
Yeah, you guys need to show some of your minor league games. You need content over there on that Marquee Network.
Hey, he in line. Hey,
we need a line over there.
This is one thing where if you want to jump on the Marquee Network, I can't. There ain't no defense in it. I mean, you can't defend it.
The Parquet. We're the Parquet Network. The Parquet Network.
Hey, you better start broadcasting some HBCU games that are going on, football games that are Jackson State going on over here. You better hurry up because they were just on ESPN this weekend. So you better hurry up and hop on it.
Hey, man, when I saw them showing, they're going to be showing Samurai Sunday on the Marquee Network. We in trouble.
That's messed up. That's funny. That's funny as hell.
That's everybody coming to watch it.
Hey, listen, we gotta take a break, and on the other side of the break, we're gonna talk to our guy Lauren Cox from he's the host of the Locked On Bears podcast. Hey, listen, brother, I appreciate it, and we will see you on Friday. What are you writing about this week?
Well, I just did a piece on Elgin Baylor. His legacy, being one of the top players to ever lace up a pair of shoes. Also, I'll be talking about the Bears moves this week. And last but not least, the Bulls.
Okay. Great stuff, buddy. We will see you on Friday. Look at Javi. Cubs are officially bougie with that Marquee Network.
Bougie Network. I like it.
Hey, we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere, folks. Shawn and Maya on SportsZone Chicago.
Hey, this is Gary Payton, and we listen to Shawn and Maya in the morning. Do that.
AutomotiveMap.com presents the Sports Flash
on 1330 and 95.9 The Zone.
Anthony at the Kane, Dujador off left point. Long wrist shot, he scores!
Bears, and it may have been tipped in front by Pew Suter.
The action on the Blackhawks radio network. Chicago able to snap a 4-game skid with a 3-2 win over the Panthers. Kevin Lankinen with 33 saves in net. Patrick Kane with a pair of assists. First win against Florida in 5 tries this season. Last night's matchup, the opener of the 6-game homestand. Chicago had dropped 6 of 7 overall heading into last night's action. The team square off again Thursday night, 7 o'clock puck drop. Bulls and Cavaliers tonight, 7 o'clock tip-off at the United Center. Chicago coming off Monday's 120-95 home loss against Utah. The White Sox beat the Cubs 3-1 in Tuesday's spring training action. Dallas Keuchel, 4 innings, 1 hit, 3 strikeouts. Chuck Sanders, that's the Sports Flash, 1330 95.9 The Zone.
At CDW, we get your employees need their data to go where they go.
That's why we started tattooing company data right on them.
Ow!
Now they have permanent access.
Ouch. Well, at CDW, we can transform your data center painlessly, on-prem and in the cloud, with a Dell technology solution so your data isn't just available, it's powerful.
Whew. I was about to get these Q4 financials tattooed on my neck.
Close call. For technology that moves you forward, trust Dell Technologies and IT orchestration by CDW. People who get it. Learn more at cdw.com/Dell Tech.
Okay.
Indeed knows unexpected demand can stretch your business thin.
Leon speaking.
Like at Leon's Plumbing.
Sorry, quickest we can get there is next Friday.
To stay out of hot water, he needs to get started hiring right away.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. And the moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first sponsored job post. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back to Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago on this beautiful, beautiful Wednesday here in the Chi. What's it going to be, 60 degrees today? Where I'm at out in the South Burbs, it's partly sunny. So it's going to be nice. Make sure you check out, and if you can get out and enjoy the day. If you're at work and you get a chance to get out for lunch, get out, take a walk, enjoy this beautiful weather. I think it's the start of some good stuff. I know, we've been waiting. A lot of us have been waiting here, not just in Chicago, but around the country for the weather to break. I think we got it here. I think we have it here. Well, listen, we're moving on, and we just got done with our guy, Joseph Phillips. He was a little more subdued this morning, which was good. He was on 10 yesterday. He was definitely on 10 yesterday with his nonsense. Or on Monday, let me tell you. But no, it's all love. So we're going to move on and talk a little Chicago Bears football. My Bears, our Bears, we there's so many things. We're just like, what the freak are you doing? All right, we're going to ask this guy, our next guest, a whole bunch of questions because we want to see if he's got the answers. Guys, you've heard him. He's a good friend of the program. He's the host of the Lockdown Bears podcast. And you can find him on Twitter at Cox Sports 1, like Fox Sports 1, but just with a C. Guys, just welcome back to Shawn and Maya, Lauren Cox. Lauren, what's up, buddy? How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. You were given a great Chicago weather forecast, but I wish the forecast for the Bears was quite as bright right now, at least in the short term, the next 7 to 10 days. How about that?
Yeah, tell me about it, dude. Lord. Well, let's get right to it. The Russell Wilson deal still not dead. We're talking about it all over on the national outlets. And my guy over at the Tape Never Lies Network, he brought up a interesting trade scenario. And I was reading that same scenario today again before the show, where a third team gets involved, and say the Jets. So the Jets can send Sam Darnold to Seattle. Seattle has a starting quarterback. We get Russell Wilson. The Bears give up draft picks, and both teams get draft picks. How viable is that? Because there's a $39 million cap hit if Russell Wilson gets moved before June 1st. So I know that's got to come into play at some point for the Seattle Seahawks. But let's talk about that. How likely is this scenario of Russell Wilson still being moved?
So I think there's 2 questions in here. I think I'm still almost expecting Russell Wilson to be moved, but I'm not. It's really hard for me to envision it coming to the Chicago Bears, right? I think it absolutely would require a third team. That if the Bears were going to be able to get Russell Wilson on their own, they would have. I mean, they threw they threw everything they could at Seattle and opened the door and said, pick your defensive starters. It sounds like it was probably Akeem Hicks and Kyle Fuller that were the names floated out there, but it's my impression that it was sort of like, hey, Seattle, you pick any Bears starters you want, pretty much. We'll throw them in there with all these, 3 first-round picks and third-round picks and all these extra draft picks. And Pete Carroll was the one that says, no, I'm not rebuilding with no quarterback. I'm 70 years old. I don't want to just have to start over a little bit and find a new franchise quarterback all willy-nilly. And so, the Bears are never going to have that quarterback option to offer the Seahawks on their own. So then if you're trying to find a scenario for the Bears, then of course you have to find a third team that's going to be able to get Seattle a quarterback, whether that's a top 5 draft pick that can become a rookie quarterback, if that's enough for Pete Carroll, or some sort of veteran that they can feel good about. I'm not sure Sam Darnold is enough if I'm Pete Carroll, but crazier things have happened. But I guess what I keep getting stuck on a little bit is if you have to get a third team involved, why wouldn't the Seahawks and that third team just do the deal without the Bears? What are the Bears going to give Seattle in the deal, or the third team that Seattle and the third team can't just do together? If you would think the other team would want Russell Wilson, and if they don't want Russell Wilson, what are they really getting out of the deal along the way? It just feels like there's a lot of questions that have to be answered, and it would have to be this perfect combination of the third team wants to be involved and wants Khalil Mack or whatever defensive starters from the Bears, but they don't want Russell Wilson. But again, I don't know if there are many teams outside of the Kansas City Chiefs that wouldn't trade, and maybe the Packers wouldn't trade their quarterback right now for Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is he's a talent, man. He's a talent. He's one of the top 3, definitely top 5, but he might even be top 3, 2 quarterbacks in the NFL. It just depending on your preference. So yeah, I understand. I get it. I just hope that there's somehow some way, all right, that we can, because that solidifies the position, and not long term, because he is 32 years old. So we have a good 4 years left, 5 years left of him.
Yeah.
Okay. So not long term, but it's in the short enough term, or I guess middle term. That would be good. Because now you don't need a stud quarterback now. If you don't find one, if you can't get one, because you're probably going to end up trading first round picks anyway, now you get to go look for a quarterback. Now you have this guy here, and if next year you're a second round pick, or if you bundle a couple of draft picks for a number 1 pick to jump into the first round, you still have an opportunity. I digress. Let's not talk about Russell Wilson, because he's not here, and all that other stuff is craziness. The Bears did sign someone yesterday who was going to be helpful to Russell Wilson, to Andy Dalton, to Nick Foles, whoever's taking snaps, whoever's behind center. They signed an offensive lineman yesterday or the other day, and I think it's good that we're starting to look for we're starting to look at the offensive line. So they got Elijah Wilkerson from the Seattle Seahawks. Give me your thoughts on him. He's played both guard and tackle.
And I should say Wilkinson just spent his time with the Denver Broncos, not the
Broncos, not Seahawks. That's right.
But he was Vic Fangio's guy. I mean, I don't say Vic Fangio's guy, but one of Vic Fangio's players, I guess. He in Denver, he ended up starting a good year and the last year and a half for them at right tackle, and was a player that I think Broncos fans were hoping for better from, and were looking for a little bit more at right tackle. So he's not going to come in Chicago and instantly be this solidifying force. For them, he was supposed to be their backup swing tackle, but Juwan James, their former first round pick, he was hurt in 2019, and then he opted out of 2020 for COVID like Eddie Goldman did. And so Wilkinson was kind of forced to start in both seasons. And he held down the job until he got hurt this past season and played almost a full 16 games in 2019. So he's not Rashad Coward, just awful, get him off the field immediately, but he's not a clear upgrade. So for me, he comes to Chicago in a similar way as Jermaine Ifedi did last year. Wilkinson had also played some guard early in his career, and he'll compete. And maybe it's he and Ifedi competing for that starting right tackle spot. And whoever loses that competition can then be a versatile backup who can back up at guard, can back up at tackle. And again, you can feel better about this backup coming in the lineup than Rashad Coward. I mean, I just keep coming back to how bad Rashad Coward was last year, but even Alex Bars wasn't great, and Jason Spriggs was just okay too. So it's good to see them finally addressing the offensive line a little bit, but I'd still like some more.
Can't you, or wouldn't? So just keep it real. Charles Leno is not being moved. Is that your thought?
Yeah,
he needs to be moved, but he's got too much money tied up in him.
It's hard to replace both tackles in one offseason. Yeah.
I mean, if you have a Fetty who can play right tackle and you just signed Wilkinson who can play tackle, I think you've got a starting point.
It's one of those things. It's like they're both okay, and you hope that in a competition, maybe one of them ends up being good, but you can also envision a scenario where neither one is that good, and you start out with one, and then maybe you have to switch to the other, and you don't know whether either one can be that consistent guy. Like, I would still feel a lot better if they could use a first or a second or even a third round pick on an offensive tackle, whether that's to eventually replace Charles Leno or to start at right tackle. At least give me one young, promising, up and coming player there that if in a pinch I can go to him, and even if he plays poorly, I can feel like it's part of his development and that he's getting better all the time and will eventually be a better starting right tackle.
Okay. I feel you. I feel you. Guys, we're joined by Lauren Cox from the Locked On Bears podcast. Talk a little Bears football right here on Shawn and Maya on SportsZone Chicago. Give me your thoughts on who's calling plays? Because that's the biggest thing for me. Because if Laser's calling the plays, now that you got Andy Dalton, because of their history together, then I'm not worried about the tackles. Okay, I'm literally, really, really not. Because you can't tell me that a team averages 30 points for 4 or 5 games in a row and have poor tackle play. It's just not going to happen. Okay. Bill Lazor was able to circumvent that issue and do things, move the pocket, roll Mitch, run the ball. There's a crazy idea, running the ball. So now our offensive tackles actually fire out as opposed to kick step and back up. So who do you think is going to be calling the plays? If this is Matt Nagy's last stand, do you think he's going to say, hey, if I'm going out my way? Or does he say, hey, Bill Lazor has a great rapport and great chemistry with Andy Dalton. Let me let him call the plays.
Yeah, there's 2 layers to this, because it's not only who's calling the plays, but then what exactly is the offense going to look like? Because Andy Dalton isn't all that much more mobile than Nick Foles at this point. I mean, I think every quarterback is more mobile than Nick Foles, but Dalton is not Mitch Trubisky, I guess, at this point in his career.
Valid point. Yeah.
And so, like, he can move a little bit, but can he be that roll out of the pocket and actually like consistently threaten the defense with his legs? Or are they kind of just going to be willing to say, yeah, if he crosses the line of scrimmage, we can catch up to him pretty quick. Like, we're not, our defense is going to really have to feel threatened and respected and respect Andy Dalton's legs. I'm not so sure at this stage in his career. So then it's like, are they going to try and run that offense, or are they going to get back to Matt Nagy's offense? Like, it felt like they made that switch at the end of the season just to try and make it work with Trubisky, but they very clearly have always wanted to do what they did in the first half of the season. That was the offense that they've been trying to do for years. And that's why they brought in Nick Foles, is to run Matt Nagy's offense. And then at the end of the year, when the crap hit the fan and they had to make that change, it was like, all right, let's just do whatever we can to win with Trubisky right now. But now that Trubisky's not here, I don't know that they'll be motivated to get back to that same system, even though that system was working really well with Trubisky. And it would probably work really well for it's a quarterback friendly system. And I think Foles or Dalton could do it, but I don't get the impression that that's what Matt Nagy really wants to do. It was like his forced necessity, like, crap, I got to save my job and I got to win some games with this quarterback. And the old way wasn't working with this quarterback, but I could see him getting tempted of like, all right, Dalton can run my offense, so let's get back to doing what I wanted to do.
Dalton can run my offense, but he also has a history with this offensive coordinator that he's got. And this offensive coordinator ran a good offense for 5 weeks that I gave him the controls until I had to get my grubby little fingers back involved. Why not continue to do that? Now that you know David Montgomery's a stud. Now teams know David Montgomery's a stud. So he has to be accounted for. Okay. Why not continue to do that? Or is it just Matt Nagy's ego?
Well, I think back to Cincinnati, right? If you want to try and recreate some of what they did there, it was not the role. I mean, it was more in the pocket play action more than what Matt Nagy was running, but it was not the rollout moving kind of offense. So like, I'm expecting some sort of hybrid, right? I think they'll try and do more of that wide zone and put more of an emphasis on the running game with that Bill Lazor emphasis. But I don't know that the quarterback mobility and some of those things that help offensive lines a little bit more, it's hard to envision that playing out the same way with Andy Dalton. So I'm expecting more like, 2019 kind of Bears offense, but with the idea that Dalton can be a little bit more consistently accurate under center and maybe have a little bit better ball placement and can then put receivers in a slightly better position to make plays after the catch, because that's kind of what Matt Nagy's offense has been predicated on, or is supposed to be predicated on. But Trubisky, even when he's hitting receivers, he's not necessarily leading them correctly to the right shoulder and to create those yards after catch. And maybe you can get a little bit more downfield going with Allen Robinson in that AJ Green role. And you can see some of the logic behind the Andy Dalton move, but I don't think it's going to look quite like the Bears offense did at the end of last season.
Well, if it doesn't, then that's going to be a shame, because you know what? If you think, or let me ask you just a quick question: do you think Andy Dalton is an upgrade over Mitch Trubisky?
I think if you can put a strong supporting cast around both quarterbacks, I think Andy Dalton is an upgrade over Mitch Trubisky. But I think Trubisky can be better with long term. Well, no, just because Trubisky, if a play breaks down, I trust Trubisky more than I trust Andy Dalton. If there's some pressure on the quarterback, but Dalton can get a little stuck in the pocket and he can hear some of those ghosts. So if the offensive line starts struggling, I would rather have Trubisky behind a struggling offensive line than I would Andy Dalton. Or if my receivers are injured and I don't have much talent there, I'd rather have Trubisky be able to create some offense with his legs than Dalton. But if I have a good offensive line and a good running game and some good receivers, Dalton can run your offense and can be a playoff quarterback and get you there the way Trubisky kind of did in 2018. But so I think Dalton is a better quarterback and an overall upgrade, but I'm not as confident in the Bears' ability to support Andy Dalton, because I think Foles is similar in that if you give him all those things, he could also be pretty good. But clearly they've been unable to give any quarterback that over the last 25 years. so Trubisky could make more out of chicken. He can make some chicken salad out of chicken crap, but I don't trust Dalton to be able to do as much of that.
You see, and that's why I ask who's calling the plays, because if Bill Lazor understands what he has here in Chicago, he understands what works. He understands Montgomery is a workhorse. He understands that now you have to bring a safety in the box for Montgomery, which only aids the quarterback as it aided Mitch Trubisky last year. And if you think, and I'm sure he maybe he thinks as well, that Andy Dalton is an upgrade from Mitch Trubisky. Let me ask you this question: if you put Andy Dalton in that situation last year, in that when they brought Mitch back and they ran the ball like crazy, that he was getting 20 plus carries a game. I'm talking David Montgomery. And do you think that the Bears would have fared better in the playoffs with this? Yes.
I think so. I think that was the right mix of, they finally found the right offensive line combination at that time, and Trubisky was getting the best pass protection of any Bears quarterback at all at any point last season. That was finally working, and they were consistently going to the ground game. And the receiver talent is what it is. I mean, Allen Robinson's great, and Darnell Mooney is up and coming, and sounds like Anthony Miller's probably going to get traded, but they've got some other pieces in there to mix around and work with. So yes, I think if you put Dalton in that spot, it's a strong enough supporting cast to help him through some of those things. But, is the Bears offensive line going to play that well all season with still looking like maybe 4 of the 5 same starters? And, if they trade Anthony Miller, are they going to have enough receiver depth? And, how consistently will they stick with the running game next year? If you can recreate all those things, I think Andy Dalton will be that upgrade. But if not, it feels like more like what we saw from Nick Foles in the middle stretch of the season.
And that lends credence to my thought. Does Lazor run it or Nagy? Because Lazor understands that this is paramount. The run game, I know it's a passing league and everyone wants to have a quarterback with 5,000 yards, but no one gives a damn if you throw for 5,000 yards if you lose the majority of your games. If you're Jameis Winston who throws 30 interceptions, it doesn't matter. Okay, the only thing that matters is wins and losses. And it seems like Bill Lazor came down with a formula okay, great. Now let me just add a better quarterback in there, because maybe we don't lose to Green Bay at the end of the season. Maybe we don't lose in the first round of the playoffs now because we have a better quarterback. So it's for me, everything, unfortunately, everything revolves around Nagy, because if he wants to be a CEO, man, I'm taking you out to dinner, Nagy. Okay, trust me. And it's not McDonald's. All right, just back off. Let everybody do their job. Let Laser do his job. Let Shawn Desai do his job. And he's got Mike Pettin up there to help him as well on the defensive side of the ball. So those two things are covered. You just sit in your big plush chair and decide whether we're going to go on it on 4th and 1. That's all I give it. That's all I want Matt Nagy to do is decide, are we going on it on 4th and 1?
So then what's Matt Nagy here for? You know what I mean? Like why is he
he obviously can't do quarterback. So you know what? By default, he's here to be the CEO because we found a guy who can fix Mitch Trubisky, but Mitch Trubisky's not gone. So let's bring in another guy. Okay, well, this guy has chemistry and history with the guy that we just brought that we're bringing in. So let him continue to rebuild and work on that history and chemistry that he has. And me, I'm the quarterback guru who's not guruing anyone.
So then what is he doing?
Just being a CEO, like so many head coaches, because it's obvious that he wasn't a good play caller and head coach. So how about, I don't even think he was a great play caller. So how about you just be a head coach, and you may find your niche as a head coach, as a John Fox, and say, hey, listen, you do your job on the offense. You do your job as a defensive coordinator. You do your job as a special teams coordinator. I'll take the heat. I'll lie to people in their face and sound like a used car salesman every week. And we're all, we'll get extensions. We'll all get extensions. If he's smart, I don't think he's that smart. I think he's too ego driven. I think he wants to have his name attached to that offense. And right now, it seems, in my opinion, that Bill Lazor has a better feel for running that offense, especially now that he's got a guy that he's run an offense and been successful in an offense with. I think it'd be better for him to just back off, but I don't think Matt Nagy can do that.
Well, you know how this is going to go then, right? We're not. Matt Nagy again is going to play this like I'm not going to reveal who's calling plays. It's a collaboration.
That BS.
They're collaborating on who's calling plays, I guess. Because one of the things Andy Dalton said at his press conference is like he sat down with Lazor and Nagy and talked about what Dalton wants to do in the offense. So that's at least another voice here.
Good. Yeah.
Either I mean, presumably good. I guess we don't know for sure what exactly Dalton thinks is going to be best for him, but you'd like to think players tend to have a good idea of what they do best and what they don't. But sometimes players think they can do things that they can't and think that they're more than what they actually are. Because again, ego and a lot of those things that the coaches feel like they can do more than they can. So there's going to be a lot of voices in there. Has anything in the Matt Nagy era and recent Bears history given you any sort of confidence that this is going to be the time that they figure it out?
That's a good question.
That's what it comes down to.
Does it? You know what? I say they do. And here's the problem is the fact that I have to think about it is the issue, because Ryan Pace should have been gone, in my opinion. Okay. But he's not. And that worries me. That worries me because there's no good reason. Like, I don't understand how McCaskey could have just lied to us and said, oh, we feel these guys are confident that in getting us fixing the quarterback position. But look at all the money that they've spent on the quarterback in a quarterback position. And you haven't got jack shit from it. We're talking from Mike Glennon to Chase Daniels, to Mr. Trubisky, to Nick Foles. Like, they haven't done anything. So these guys, you're going to trust these guys now to fix a quarterback position that they haven't been able to fix for the last 3 or 4 years? It doesn't make sense. So he just literally looked at us and lied. And that's what bothered me about that press conference. He lied. So I don't see. So I feel that Ryan Pace has a longer stay of execution than we think, because he's going, they're not going to say you haven't been done to this point, so we'll give you 1 more year. What garners 1 more year for them? He might say, okay, we'll give you a 2-year extension, because if this quarterback works and we get to the playoffs and we're good, I need another year to really get everything rolling, because it usually takes more than a year to get everybody on the same page. I think there's a lot more going on, which is like you said. Remember, they refused to talk about their contracts. They refused to talk about it, and they were adamant about it. And I think, and why are you adamant to tell us to not tell us about their contracts? Because you're trying to hide something.
It's very defensive. I mean, because if they're not defensive or they're not worried, what do you got to hide? What do you lose by just talking about it? I mean, I understand that, like, technically they don't have to. They're not required to, and I understand that. It's not like, and no one's asking to find out their salary necessarily. It's not like,
right,
you're making that much money and to do this. It's just all it is years in job security. But clearly there's a self-consciousness in Chicago, right? A defensiveness. They recognize, as much as they try and pretend that they don't listen to the noise and that they're all fully confident in all this stuff. Like very clearly there is a recognition of like, oh shit, like this is make or break time, or this is something has to happen here to be different. And I can just hear, Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy sitting down with McCaskey and saying, here's our plan. We're going to go after Deshaun Watson. We're going to go after Russell Wilson. And if we don't get those, we'll sign a veteran quarterback. And then we're going to go after this quarterback in the draft. And we're going to make this move. And you can kind of sell ownership on like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, like that makes a lot of sense. Like that's going to give us a future. That's going to do this, this, and this. And clearly, as much as like Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy try and talk about no egos involved, I mean, the ego goes all the way up to the top with Phillips and McCaskey and feeling like they know what's best for the team when neither one is particularly qualified to make those decisions.
Exactly.
It always comes back to.
Yeah, exactly. Talk to me, guys. We're joined by Lauren Cox from the Lockdown Bears podcast for another moment or so. Talking Bears football right here on Shawn and Maya on SportsZone Chicago. I was going to ask you about the wide receiver position, but let me get to the defense. We'll save that for another conversation. How are you feeling on the defensive side of the ball? You let Kyle Fuller walk. Okay, you tried it. First of all, he's dangled. You knew he's a topic of. You're shopping him. So that's a whole nother thing. Then you can't find a trade partner. You can't find a dance partner. So you said, you know what, we have to release him. And I don't think they even finished saying you're released when they had the announcement was out that he signed with Denver.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not mad at Kyle Fuller. I'm like, wait, you asked me to restructure. I restructured for you once, and you want me to do it again? No, it's not happening. Sorry. So, and then now he's going to a coach who he respects. Remember when Vic Fangio called him out, and he took it some sort of way and became an All-Pro. I was like, yeah, well, sometimes you need a little tough love. Yeah. So now he's going back to a guy. So now, but then you tell Akeem Hicks, go look for a trade. You know what? Since you can't find one, welcome back. How do you think that makes that defense feel going into this year? Because now you got Chuck Pagano gone. You got a new guy who people say they really respect Shawn Desai. So talk to me about what you think this defensive side of the ball is feeling and looking like going into this year, even with the Christian Jones being re-signed.
Yeah, like what a message the Bears have sent to their team this offseason when they don't negotiate with Allen Robinson and then franchise tag him and drag him around and throw him. And then they float Hicks and Fuller out in these trade rumors, and that gets all leaked. And then, they release Kyle Fuller, one of the leaders of the defense. Like I would have given Kyle Fuller a contract extension. You can lower his salary cap hit this year, add a couple of years to his deal, send some money his way. And, you reward the players and the important players on your team and build that culture of we value our own. We take care of our own. We treat our own well. And you have been not only, an important player of our defense so far, but like, it's not like Fuller is this old cornerback that's on the decline by any means. He's not, he's not
Kamara.
He's not a shutdown guy. He's not a top 5 cornerback in the NFL, but he's very good and he's very important to this defense. And like to send that message to him and then send the trade message to Akeem Hicks, who we've seen. And when he's out, even when they have everybody else in, he's the energy, he's the voice, he's the life, he's the leadership. I wonder if all of this is part of a consequence of not having an established defensive coordinator name to step in and say, hey, wait a minute, like stop treating my guys like crap. Like show us some respect. Like this is going to be really bad for the locker room. Whereas Desai, he's still kind of finding his leadership and his voice in that defensive room and, doesn't have the authority to kind of stand up to Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace the way like Pagano or Vic Fangio might be able to be a little bit tougher there. But no, to answer your question, I'm worried about this Bears defense to go from Fuller to Desmond Trufant. I think Trufant's pretty good, but that's a step back. You haven't signed a safety to start next to Eddie Jackson. So is that just going to be Deion Bush, or can they get Tashawn Gibson back on a cheap deal? If it's going to be Bush, I think that's a slight step back. I think, Duke Shelley, if he's going to fill in for Buster Screen, that's not an upgrade. I don't know that it's much of a step back, but maybe a little bit more lateral. And then presumably they got to keep Hicks for now, but they still have to clear some more salary cap space to sign their draft pick. So another move has to be coming here, but I don't feel good about the secondary, but at least the rest of the front seven seems to still be intact and they can kind of rely on that as their strength.
For me, the thing that bothers me is that they don't want these guys here, because if you wanted Hicks here, if you wanted Fuller here, all you had to do was say, hey, listen, we just signed a $113 billion contract for TV stuff. So the salary cap's going to go up. So you know what? We'll push your money back until 2023, 24, or 22 or 23, and you'll get all the money that you wanted at that point. So
yeah, it doesn't think it's that hard, but here we are.
Yeah. Hey, listen, great stuff, Lauren. I appreciate it. Do me a favor, let everyone know where they can find you and your work online.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Cox Sports 1. And you can hear me 5 days a week on the Locked On Bears podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hey, great stuff, buddy. We will talk. We will definitely be in touch soon. All right.
Absolutely. There's always plenty of Bears talk. So anytime you need me.
Always. Thanks, buddy. We'll talk. All right, guys, that was Lauren Cox from the Locked On Bears podcast. We got to take a quick break, and on the other side of the break, we're going to have more sports conversations. So don't go anywhere, folks. Keep it locked right here. Shawn and Maya on SportsZone Chicago.
AutomotiveMap.com presents the Sports Flash
on 1330 and 95.9 The Zone.
Anthony the Kane, Dujador off left point. Long wrist shot, he scores! And it may have been tipped in front by Pius Suter.
The action on the Blackhawks radio network. Chicago able to snap a 4-game skid with a 3-2 win over the Panthers. Kevin Lankinen with 33 saves in net. Patrick Kane with a pair of assists. First win against Florida in 5 tries this season. Last night's matchup, the opener of the 6-game homestand. Chicago had dropped 6 of 7 overall heading into last night's action. The team square off again Thursday night, 7 o'clock puck drop. Bulls and Cavaliers tonight, 7 o'clock tip-off at the United Center. Chicago coming off Monday's 120-95 home loss against Utah. The White Sox beat the Cubs 3-1 in Tuesday's spring training action. Dallas Keuchel, 4 innings, 1 hit, 3 strikeouts.
Chuck Sanders, that's the Sports Flash, 1330, 95.9 The Zone.
At CDW, we get your employees need their data to go where they go.
That's why we started tattooing company data right on them.
Ow!
Now they have permanent access.
Ouch. Well, at CDW, we can transform your data center painlessly, on-prem and in the cloud, with a Dell technology solution so your data isn't just available, it's powerful.
Whew. I was about to get these Q4 financials tattooed on my neck.
Close call. For technology that moves you forward, trust Dell Technologies and IT orchestration by CDW. People who get it. Learn more at cdw.com/Dell Tech.
Okay.
Indeed knows unexpected demand can stretch your business thin.
Leon speaking.
Like at Leon's Plumbing.
Sorry, quick as we can get there is next Friday.
To stay out of hot water, he needs to get started hiring
Clog the toilet?
right away.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. And the moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first sponsored job post. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back to Shawn and Maya in the morning at SportsZone Chicago. We just got done with Lauren Cox from the Locked On Bears podcast. Talking a little Bears, talking a lot of Bears football. You know, I'm concerned about this Bears team. You know, I really how much longer are they going to continue to give Ryan Pace the reins, the keys to the castle, when he hasn't done what they needed to get done? Okay. And you can spin it any way you want. And the Bears have spun it in their favor. We've made it playoffs 2 out of the last 3 years, which they are not lying. They are not incorrect. But the way you got into the playoffs, you know, you get into the playoffs with Mitch Trubisky, who you basically banished. Talking about Matt Nagy, basically banished, and until Nick Foles gets hurt, is the only reason he came back. Then he goes on a winning streak because apparently you were forced due to public pressure to stop calling plays because your play calling sucked. You give it to a guy who understands what this team needs, understands that you need to run the ball. Trubisky comes back. Trubisky plays probably the best stretch of football he's played in his time with the Bears. And the guy he saves your job, because and let's be honest, if they would have lost the last 6 games or 8 games in a row, which is what I was hoping that would have happened, there's no way on God's green earth that this duo would have been able to save their jobs. None whatsoever. You lose 8 in a row to end the season. 8 in a row? No. There's no way. So the guy who wins you has a 3-game winning streak, would have been 4 if you decided to stop calling plays, Nagy, puts up 30 points a game and saves your job as a guy that you let go. I just don't find it. It's amazing how you see all the things that come back to rear their ugly heads toward the Bears, and yet management won't acknowledge them. The guys the offensive line, when they started running the ball, the offensive line, who had 2 undrafted free agents, Sam Mustipher and Alex Bars. They come in and they solidify that running game. David Montgomery's barreling, bursting, rumbling, bumbling, stumbling, 100 yards a game. And you're like, whoa, we have an offensive line. First of all, they were healthy. The same 5 starters started for the last 5 or 6 games in a row. But isn't that funny how the 2 guys that you brought in who solidified that offensive line are from Notre Dame? And the guy who was their offensive line coach at Notre Dame is the fall guy last year. He's the fall guy. You get rid of him because your offense isn't working, but then you use 2 of his players to get your offense working. But the Bears don't acknowledge this. The Bears don't look at. They needed a fall guy, so you know what? Let's have Harry Heastand be the fall guy, and you know who else? How about that offensive coordinator who doesn't call plays, and Mark Helfrich? He's another one who needs to go. If you don't see the asinine decisions that are being made at Hallis Hall, you are a fool. You are a fool. This Bears organization is in shambles. Mitch Trubisky wouldn't come back because he knows who's going to be calling plays. And that's Matt Nagy. Matt Nagy just can't help himself. I guarantee you, I wouldn't be surprised if Bill Lazor leaves after this year. If Matt Nagy stays. Because I think if here's how I see it happening. Matt Nagy's going to start calling plays again. Bill Lazor's going to get pissed. Matt Nagy's going to get fired, and obviously there goes his whole staff. Bill Lazor's going to be able to go find another job. When for self-preservation, Matt Nagy, and self-scouting, if you guys did self-scouting like you claim you do, you say you just don't call plays and be a head coach very well. Just step the fuck back. Let this guy with a history with Andy Dalton, with a playoff history with Andy Dalton, let him work with Andy Dalton. Let him call Andy Dalton's plays. You sit the fuck back and sit down and shut your freaking mouth.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not going to do that. His pride. I'm the head coach. And that's how you know he's not good, because a head coach knows. Let people do their jobs. You take the heat, but you let everybody else do your jobs. It means you find people that are competent enough. So you collaborate with Ryan Pace, find someone who's competent enough to run this offense. You found him. He's in the building. He's just like The Rock. He's in the building. The Rock's in the building. Lazor's in the building. Keep him. Let him do his job. But Matt Nagy will not allow his ego to be pushed to the side and be just a CEO. And that's going to be his downfall. And that's going to be the downfall of the Bears in 2021.
I think that it's going to be. I think it's going to be Bill Lazor, and this is why I think it's going to be Bill Lazor. It's because they will draft a quarterback, and that quarterback will be in the hip pocket of Matt Nagy the entire season, probably. And most likely, because for me, I don't think that their jobs are on the line, but most likely that rookie quarterback's going to be right next to Nagy, learning and just holding a clipboard for about 2 years. Then you get a guy like Andy Dalton who will come in right now with Bill Lazor and run a competent offense, and you'll make do with the defense you have. You're going to end up fighting for a playoff spot, I guarantee. It's going to be similar to this year. Maybe you finish 9-7. Maybe they're one game above last year's.
So they can continue to say they haven't had a losing record.
Right, but they make the playoffs. And I think regardless of the losing record, they're going to draft a young guy, and they're going to make that as the excuse. All right, now Matt Nagy has his guy, so now they're married. This issue of there not being a timeline with Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy. Well, Matt Nagy we know, but with Ryan Pace and what it is going forward, I just feel like that's the next move. You have Andy Dalton as your scapegoat. You let him, you let him run the offense for however long. Maybe you sign him again to a 1-year deal next year. You know what I mean? But you make do. You just get by. Like the Bears are just getting by, right? And they're going to have this young guy who's not going to be ready. Mac Jones, whoever it is, the guy's not going to be ready to start right away. So regardless of who it's going to be, he's not going to beat out Andy Dalton. I don't believe. But for me, how many years is it going to be till he's ready? Is it going to be right after year one? Is Matt Nagy going to be like, all right, this is it. Watch Andy Dalton for a year. Listen to me, study, and then you'll be ready to go. I think it'd be better than Trubisky and Glennon, where Trubisky had to sit under Glennon. But it still scares me, man. It still scares me with those two guys running the show. It scares me on whether they're going to draft the right guy, the correct quarterback, and is Matt Nagy going to be able to develop him? We've seen his refusal to try to develop Mitch or try to even humble himself enough to cater a little bit to Mitch. What is a young guy going to do? You know what I'm saying? Are we going to get the same type of good soldier like we got in Mitch, or is that young guy going to step up and speak for himself? And we saw Mitch not do that for a few years, and I'm scared with these two guys running the show, Shawn. Either way, even if we get the right guy, even if we get like a Mac Jones, or we trade up and try to get like a Trey Lance or whatever we do, I'm still afraid of who's running the show.
I'm afraid at the top who's running the show.
If
you let these guys, if you get a quarterback, whoever you draft, if you let them stay with Dalton and Laser, then I'm okay. I'm okay with it, because then this quarterback's going to have an idea of how to run an offense, because Bill Lazor knows how to run an offense. He knows how to play call. He knows how to set up plays for later. He is a professional play caller. If you draft a quarterback and he stays by Nagy, are they anticipating that they're going to use this guy next year? Because what happens, Ivan, if Andy Dalton comes out, has a phenomenal year, leads us to the playoffs, we win the division, or even if we get in a wild card, we go 10-6, but Green Bay's 13-3, 10-6, 11-5. Okay, we get in the playoffs. Do you bring Andy Dalton back, or do you put the youngster in that you hopefully drafted? Do you put him in? There's a question.
Well, this is what I would say. That's a very good question, and I would say this: that guy's coming in. Matt Nagy thinks he only needs me. I guarantee you. We talk about the ego and everything. Matt Nagy will say, and this is how I'd see it playing out. Andy Dalton will get us at 9-6, 9-7, 10-6, squeaking into the playoffs, right? Just like we did this year. Maybe not a falling backwards. Maybe we actually, we definitively take a wild card spot, right? I think Matt Nagy would be arrogant enough to say, hey, this guy's ready to go after 1 year. After 1 year under Andy Dalton. After 1 year under Andy Dalton, probably not running the exact same thing Matt Nagy's going to be running. And guess who will be calling the plays after that?
Oh, there's no guessing involved.
Exactly. So for me, like I said, Shawn, I'm afraid of the leadership on the team. And that's the head coach, the GM, and the president. And to be honest with you, the owner for that matter. And I'm not talking about Virginia. I'm talking about more about George. Like we see George bark, but the bite is very minimal. You know what I mean? The bite is a little nip. We've seen George bark, but his bite doesn't match that bark. And I feel like if you can find a way to get the right guy at quarterback, some way, somehow, Matt Nagy's going to find a way to either make an excuse on why his development is lacking, or just continue to call the plays the way we see it and run himself into the ground.
This is a cluster mess, because you talk about having a pair, and I think the blame goes right on George, because if you get rid of this and you have a guy who can make decisions, good decisions, because anyone can make decisions. good decisions. Ryan Pace has not been able to do that because he should have fired Matt Nagy at the end of this season.
Mhm.
Should have. All right. And I don't know if Ryan Pace says, hey, you know what? I like the way this offense ran last year when Laser called the plays. Stop calling the goddamn plays. I don't know if he's done that.
It's not going to happen. This collaboration idea, that's meant to deflect any type of conflict, Shawn. It's meant to disguise. It's meant to say, hey, everything's good over here. We're working together. And all the problems are suppressed and they're hidden. So this whole collaboration idea is only meant to hide the fractures within the organization.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Which it shows you exactly why. Because why is Mike McCarthy, and Ted Phillips was very defensive in that meeting, in that presser. Very defensive. Why you don't feel you need a football guy in that position as the league has changed. As you see how just in Pace's first year, he got hoodwinked by a football guy in John Lynch to trade him picks to move up one spot. Or not his first year, but still got his, you know what I mean? That's a football guy.
Talking about conviction on your guy. Conviction.
And he's like, oh, sometimes you have to go after your guy.
Mm-hmm.
No, you don't have to waste. I understand going after your guy. I agree with it. But you don't waste picks to do it. You don't waste picks to say, oh, well, I had to get him. No, you didn't. The Niners had just gotten Jimmy Garoppolo. They didn't need a quarterback. They're not taking. And here's a crazy idea. If they did take Mitch, thank God we wouldn't even be having this conversation, because it would have been Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes, who we would have taken.
Mm-hmm.
Actually,
John Fox. Yeah, if you listen to John Fox.
If you listen to John Fox, it was Deshaun Watson regardless.
And like I said, with that, you just saw, and this goes to my point of how do we trust. How do we continue to trust moving down the line? How does anybody continue to trust moving down the line? And I talked about the suppression, the running game from the start. Like there's been players that have been like Jordan Howard was pretty much exiled. Now we don't know if there was an issue there, but I'm pretty sure there was. I'm pretty sure the lack of running the football, the lack of wanting to run the football with Jordan Howard was an issue to him. So you've seen Matt Nagy cut a good thing from the team. Take away a good thing, right? You see him suppress younger guys like a Riley Ridley. You see him fire coaches or allow coaches to leave in order to protect himself. It's almost like a shield. All right, these aren't my guys. We're not doing this, and that. We need these guys, and we can plug it in because I'm familiar with them. I used the term masks before. He uses these masks to hide all these things, and that's what the Chicago Bears are doing right now. This collaboration idea, it's all a mess. It's all the guys to show you, hey, we really are scrambling as an organization at this point because you had a historic defense going on 3-4 years ago? Going on 3-4 years ago. That's dissipating, and now you have no offense whatsoever after beating your chest on how you were going to change things, change the culture, change the offense around here in Chicago, and all I see is guys fighting on the field, a lack of 20-point games, more 10-point games than I want. You know what I mean? Sometimes you don't even have a touchdown on the board. So for me, there's a lack of trust that goes with it, Shawn. I don't know how we're gonna get out of it, man. I really don't. Draft a young guy, but good luck.
I hope they jump up. You know what? If you did this, if you jumped up and drafted a quarterback, grab a couple of your picks, grab a starter, grab a second. I mean, if you give guys a second, third, and a fourth round pick or something like that, okay, I'm okay. And you jump in the first round, get a guy. Get the Trey Lances and get the, if you feel Mac Jones is your guy, okay. I don't know if everybody's on the Mac Jones tip. Okay. I'm not so much on the tip because here's why. When you have a receiving core like you did at Alabama, dude, he literally had 5 receivers who are going to the NFL. You talk elite of elite.
Mm-hmm.
You're not necessarily going to be throwing to those elite receivers anymore
Mm-hmm.
against sometimes inferior competition.
Right.
You might have. I mean, I'm not taking away anything he have from wherever he goes, whether it comes to the Bears or not. But the receiving core might not be as dominant because the teams that they're playing, they're professionals too. They're starting cornerbacks for a reason. Okay, so I don't know about the Lance show. The Trey Lance, I like him. I like his athleticism. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, the kid out of Florida, the kid out of BYU. There's 4 good quarterbacks. I think there might be one more that I'm forgetting. There's more. Justin Fields, Ohio State. That's right. There's 5 good quarterbacks there. Everyone in front of you didn't need a quarterback? Are there 5 teams that need a quarterback? I don't know. Because I'm okay with Justin Fields, truth be told.
If Justin Fields is sitting for a couple of years, learns how to run the offense, and we find out and we draft guys we draft guys that will benefit Justin Fields' talents, right? And offensive line wise, and as well as a skill player wise, I'm okay with it. But
here's why you keep Andy Dalton. So so now you don't have to trade up. So you get a Justin Fields like we talk about. So he's done for 4 years. You got him locked down for 4 years on his contract.
Right.
Now you can say, Andy Dalton, look, dude, in the middle of the season, if you're having a good season, we're going to extend you for 2 more seasons. Okay? We're going to extend you for 2 more seasons. All right? Because if he's playing well, don't take him out and expect Justin Fields to do exactly what Patrick Mahomes did. Okay? Don't expect that. So, especially if we're getting deep in the playoffs. If he's taking us to the playoffs every year, like it's not like the Kansas City Chiefs were in the AFC Championship game and then made the switch. Okay? Before Patrick Mahomes took over. If Andy Dalton's doing well, reward him. Say, hey, we'll give you a 2-year extension. Okay? In your second year, if you're not leading us into the playoffs again, guess what? We'll probably make a switch. And, that year will be your last year here with us, and we'll go from there. Be honest. Be transparent with these guys. So you give them, and at that point, we'll sign you to a 2-year deal. We'll backload the money, okay? Because at that point, trust TV deal, the TV money will be in play. That new team. And so here's money for you, just for going along with the program. Okay, in your 3rd year here, okay, we'll give you $30 million. Okay, you'll start the season. We're going to go with our young guy who will be in his 3rd season. You'll get your $30 million. You can go look for another gig afterwards, but you got $30 million, and we're going to pay you for going along with the program because the salary cap is going to be so much higher. We can do that. And then now you have Justin Fields on his rookie deal in his 3rd year. Okay, so you can keep him for 1 more year, and that's what you have to decide. Okay, in his 4th year, is he doing well enough to extend, to pick up his 5th-year contract, or to extend him? Maybe you do that. There's so many different things that I'm thinking, like, I hope they've thought of this. I hope they go along this route because you don't need a great quarterback to win the Super Bowl. You need a good quarterback.
Shawn, they're not going to go the route that we want. They're going to go the route that they deem best fit for them. And you see it.
Did they come up with after they collaborated?
Correct, right. The collaboration. You see it already. It's already unfolding in my eyes. And like I've said it, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that they were good. I was like, they're going to go ahead and veteran it up and then go ahead and draft a young guy. But the thing is that you can see the plan is to draft a quarterback in the 1st round. And look at what they did this week. They drafted a guy that can play right tackle and replace a Bobby Massey, but they don't have to go ahead and necessarily draft a guy in the 1st or 2nd round. Let's just say that. That guy could be ready to go play right now. And he did it for Vic Fangio last year. So they could be like, hey, this guy, we're going to go with this guy at right tackle this year, and that'll be that. And we'll draft the guy later in the later rounds like they've tried to do and try to hit on a guy in that second half of the draft. But for me, it's quarterback all the way. They have no excuse anymore. There's no excuse. Look, Russell's so far, everybody's talking about Russell Wilson. That's fine. Like, if there's still something there, cool. You have to draft a quarterback. Period. You have to draft a quarterback. You can't beat around an excuse where you come in and say, all right, we got Andy Dalton because we couldn't go get Russ for money reasons or whatever. We skipped over a quarterback in the first round because we thought we were going to go get Russ on June 1st. June 1st comes around and you ain't got shit but Andy Dalton. You're going to be eating a lot of heat. And I feel like quarterback in round 1 is a done deal. If you really don't, if you want to push aside that Chicago media, because I feel like it'll be Armageddon if you don't go number one pick quarterback.
Really? Okay. I'm wondering, they one of the draft scenarios, if you get a third team involved. If you get a third team involved, I'm good with it. I am
right.
And to bring Russell Wilson in here, then I'm more than good with it. Okay. The Jets being the perfect scenario. Okay, the Jets can send. You can get the Jets can send Andy Dalton. Their starting quarterback. I can't even think of his name. The kid out of UCLA. Sam Dalton. Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold. You can send Sam Darnold over there, or I'm not sure how true this is. I know Phil talked about this on his show, and he was saying how Pete Carroll likes Andy Dalton. If he likes Andy Dalton, then that's the perfect scenario. You trade up into the first round to get the youngster that the Seattle Seahawks want. You send that along with Andy Dalton over to Seattle. So he's got a year or two to mentor this youngster. We get Russell Wilson. Okay, and then that's the first round draft pick. That would count for one. All right, because we would jump up and draft their youngsters and send that youngster and Andy Dalton. And then we could send them 2 more picks, the next 2, or you could say, hey, for doing this job, for doing this for you, we're only going to give you 1 more first round pick, but we give you 2 seconds or a second and a third. Draft picks are, your scouting team's going to have to go to work. I don't know. Man, there's just so many different scenarios, and I'm not confident that the Bears are going to do that. And you know what would be great is if Ryan Pace pulls it off and makes us all look stupid. I would be so happy if that's without giving up the farm. If he makes it happen and we do get Russell Wilson and we only give up 1 or 2 first round picks, okay, with 1 or 2 starters, okay, I'm okay with it because now the quarterback position is solved. We got an offensive tackle. Russell Wilson is a guy who can really say, hey, because you saw how him and Andy Foles got into it, or Nick Foles. I said Andy. Him and Nick Foles got into it. So you don't think Russell's going to say, hey, we need to run the ball?
You're right, Sean. It's Andy Foles. It's the same freaking guy. They're the same freaking. It might as well be Andy Foles, Sean. It's the same guy. It's that Spider-Man meme. They're pointing at each other.
That's funny. That's funny. And let's do a quick break. And on the other side of the break, we're going to switch gears. We're going to talk a little Bulls basketball with our guy, the fantastic Mr. Fu himself, Adam Shalafu, and he's the host of the Hoopstradamus podcast. So don't go anywhere, folks. Bulls talk next with Adam Shalafu. Keep it locked right here. Shawn and Maya on SportsZone Chicago.
Get out while you can. Don't get a sucker no statue. Give him guts. I told you I wasn't going away. You got your shot. Now give me mine. Why don't you get the hell out of there? Shut up, old man. I ain't going nowhere.
AutomotiveMap.com presents the Sports Flash
on 1330 and 95.9 The Zone.
Anthony the Kane to Shador off left point. Long wrist shot. He scores! And it may have been tipped in front by Pius Suter.
The action on the Blackhawks radio network. Chicago able to snap a 4-game skid with a 3-2 win over the Panthers. Kevin Lankinen with 33 saves in net. Patrick Kane with a pair of assists. First win against Florida in 5 tries this season. Last night's matchup, the opener of the 6-game homestand. Chicago had dropped 6 of 7 overall heading into last night's action. The teams square off again Thursday night, 7 o'clock puck drop. Bulls and Cavaliers tonight, 7 o'clock tip-off at the United Center. Chicago coming off Monday's 120-95 home loss against Utah. The White Sox beat the Cubs 3-1 in Tuesday's spring training action. Dallas Keuchel, 4 innings, 1 hit, 3 strikeouts.
Chuck Sanders, that's the Sports Flash, 1330 95.9 The Zone.
At CDW, we get your employees need their data to go where they go.
That's why we started tattooing company data right on them.
Ow!
Now they have permanent access.
Ouch. Well, at CDW, we can transform your data center painlessly, on-prem and in the cloud, with a Dell technology solution so your data isn't just available, it's powerful.
Whew. I was about to get these Q4 financials tattooed on my neck.
Close call. For technology that moves you forward, trust Dell Technologies and IT orchestration by CDW. People who get it. Learn more at cdw.com/DellTech.
Okay.
Indeed knows unexpected demand can stretch your business thin.
Leon speaking.
Like at Leon's Plumbing.
Sorry, quick as we can get there is next Friday.
To stay out of hot water, he needs to get started hiring right away.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. And the moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first sponsored job post. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back to Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago on this Hump Day edition. We just got off. Well, I just got done with Ivan, and we were talking more Bears. A lot of frustrating. I guess I'm a glutton for punishment, and just talking about that godforsaken organization that I continually root for. I don't know why. I told you, I think I'm gonna be a bigger supporter this year of the Niners. Okay. I've been a San Francisco 49er fan for a long time. We're going back to the Joe Montana, Roger Craig, Jerry Rice, Jonathan Taylor days, Tom Rathman days. Those that even before that, back in the catch, is one of my vivid memories. First memories of my first big memory of football was the Raiders-Eagles Super Bowl. Raiders-Eagles Super Bowl. That was my first legitimate memory of football, watching it at home. Then the Niners, came into prominence, and I liked them, and Roger Craig and Joe Montana and Dwight Clark and Bill Walsh. So I think that might be my side team. I think this year that's my side team is my San Francisco 49ers, because Lord knows why we freaking need it. So in the NBA, though, I don't have a side team. I like the Lakers, but it was like, I like Magic and Showtime. I didn't like the Boston Celtics. Too many people around where I grew up love the Celtics. I'm not even going to go into why. My Bulls have been my only team. And this next guy, he covers the Bulls. He has a podcast. It's called the Hoopstradamus podcast. You can also hear right here on SportsZone Chicago. And we're going to talk to him about the status of the organization. The trade deadline is drawing closer, and there's some interest in some of our players. We're going to see if he thinks some of these guys are going to be guys. He is, as I said, he is the host of the Hoopstradamus podcast. You can find him on Twitter at Fantastic Mr. Foo, F-O-U-X. Guys, just welcome back Adam Shalafu. Adam, what's up, buddy? How are you?
Hey, man. Always happy to be here. Doing well on this Wednesday morning in colorful Colorado, and happy to be talking some Bulls.
So the Bulls got their ass whooped the other day, and it wasn't pretty.
Yeah.
It was not pretty. 120-95. And, as one of our listeners says, in his opinion, Utah is the best team in the West. Yeah. And depending who you ask, yeah, and they're definitely in the conversation. That's for damn sure. My thought though is this inconsistency is bugging me, because they face some other good teams and they stay close. Just got blown out. Your thoughts on, was it just a hiccup, an outlier like that everybody has? Like everyone has to have a bad game where they get blown out, or is this really who the Bulls are? They just can't stay with.
I mean, I was looking at that game, and I almost put some money on Utah, but it would have hurt me a little too much inside. You know what I mean? But that was almost part of my parlay for the day. I had no doubt that the Bulls.
Hey, there's only one team when it comes down to it, dude, and that's the Ben Franklin team.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. We're all playing for the Franklins. But I thought about maybe putting some money on Utah that night, just because they're really really damn good. The reason I didn't is because, like you said, the Bulls kind of keep these close, and they almost beat Denver the other night. But honestly, I wouldn't be too concerned about that Utah loss. Javier is right. Utah is the best team in the West. They are the healthiest team in the West too. And so, there's a lot of teams right on their coattails, the Suns and the Lakers. The Lakers, they're about to give me a call and see if I can back up Alex Caruso, because they're really down to their scrubs now without LeBron and AD. But Utah is honestly like what any team, whether it's the Bulls or the Hornets, any team that's rebuilding right now, they should be looking at the Utah Jazz as an example, especially teams without a true superstar. No disrespect to Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, but the way that team runs, it's like you just never know who's going to kill you. Everybody shoots over 40% from three. You got the best defensive player in the world, arguably, in Rudy Gobert. And then, a poor man's Dwayne Wade and Donovan Mitchell. So there's just too many weapons for the Bulls to stop. And where the Bulls really suck, and this is why I'm very interested to watch tonight's game against Cleveland, is the Bulls really suck at defense, And so they're going to play another team that kind of sucks at defense. They've gotten better since adding Jared Allen, but that's a different conversation. But when the Bulls are playing a team with like a top 5 scoring team and one of the top 5 defensive teams either, it's kind of a recipe for disaster. They can sometimes keep it close with teams with maybe some flaws, but when it comes down to the fourth quarter, what I've seen a lot of this year, whether it's, the Nuggets, the Lakers, a lot of these close games, it's just that experience takes over, and having those guys who've had those legit playoff moments are ready to just kind of put these games away in more of a routine fashion, where the Bulls are still kind of learning that. They're still a pretty young group.
Yeah, they are. And I like to see them grow. I want to see them grow. I think I'm seeing them grow.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that games like the other day are games that really that get to me, because it's like, if you're like with Tibbs, there weren't a lot of like that when Tibbs was coaching, because they grinded on the defensive end. They'd grind you down, and you knew your Bulls were going to lose, but they weren't getting blown out.
Yeah.
And, so they'd lose by 10, 8-10. They get it close, but then the other team would win it. It wasn't such a tough game, a tough situation. How does Billy Donovan talk to these guys and get these guys back focused for tonight? Does he just say, "Hey, listen, it was a clunker. We had a clunker. We're not even look at it. Move on." Does he lay it? Does he play the bad cop this time? How do you think Billy Donovan attacks this loss, the loss to the Jazz, as they move forward to today?
I think he looks at everything, and you got to figure out why it got so ugly. There's something I used to have a boss in Chicago. He said, excuses are like assholes. Everyone's got them and they all stink, And so, you're playing the Utah Jazz, but, you should try to keep it more, no matter who you're playing, you got to compete, right? And so when you are playing a really, really good team like the Jazz, it's a great time to be, because they'll make you pay for every single one of your mistakes. And so in the film room, I hope Billy's looking at every single one of those mistakes and say, hey, here's how we can be more disciplined here. Here's how we can limit the turnovers, really dissect that. And then when you flip ahead and look at the Cleveland Cavaliers game tonight, not to necessarily look past them, because the Bulls have been doing a good job lately. Like, they'll beat the teams they're supposed to, right? And so you look at the recent schedule, obviously you got this really ugly loss to Utah. You got a win. You got to beat the Pistons. They beat the crap out of the Pistons. Then losses to the Nuggets, and then they almost won the back-to-back against that Spurs team. But they're beating teams like the Thunder and the Raptors, the Pelicans. It seems like they've kind of shown that they're, at this point, they seem like a team that's going to not necessarily underperform, but not necessarily overperform either. It's kind of who they are. They're going to lose to the good teams. They're probably going to beat the bad teams. Cleveland's a team that is in a really similar situation because they like I said, they don't have a ton of good defense. It got better with Jared Allen, but the Bulls are really going to have their hands full with Sexland, is the young kids are calling him, Colin Sexton and Darius Garland. And so it's going to be interesting right now. The Bulls are favored in that matchup, but it's one of those games where they got to take care of business, especially the fact that it's a home game, because it's one thing to lose to Utah, but don't lose in a barn burner to a high-scoring Cavs team. Cavs just beat the Celtics the other night. The Celtics suck right now, but they're probably a little bit better than the Bulls. It goes to show that if you don't take them seriously, they will beat you.
People have shown interest, and here's the thing that's starting to bother me. They're showing interest in marketing as the trade deadline approaches. They're showing interest in Otto Porter Jr. Your thoughts, if you can get a deal for him, do you want them to get rid of? Are you okay with Otto and or Lowry being moved?
I'd like to see Otto Porter moved because they're not going to bring him back next year. I'd be surprised if they did. If they did, they'd have to bring him back for a huge pay cut. That goes back to the Jabari Parker trade, and it didn't make sense at the time because Jabari Parker was on this 2-year deal. The second year was an option. So while everyone was blown away at the $20 million, we got stuck with this guy with this huge contract with Otto Porter. There's no point in bringing him back because it's going to screw up the flexibility the Bulls have going forward. But at the same time, you don't want to get nothing back. He can seriously help a team that's trying to make a push right now, a team that could use another really good two-way wing. Dallas Mavericks come to mind, Denver Nuggets come to mind, Portland Trailblazers even, somebody you could throw over there next to Rocco. So I would like to see them move Porter. Now, as far as Lauri Markkanen goes, it really depends on what they get back. I don't think that it should be a fire sale by any stretch. He needs to rebound the basketball more, but as we've said on this show, sometimes it takes these guys a little bit longer to develop into really good rebounders. It's not as physical over there in Europe, but you'd like to see him be a little bit more physical now. And you see it in flashes, but he's certainly not what you want to see out of a 7-foot giant. He should be able to bang a little bit down there in the post. But with how good of a scorer he's become, right around 20 points per game kind of guy, it makes me a little nervous to lose him if they aren't getting at least Alonzo Ball back. And, that's been the hot word for, I feel like, we've been talking about that at least once. It comes up every week. Mm-hmm. And I think his stock has risen substantially. And so right now, I wouldn't mind if the Bulls were to make a move where it was Markkanen for Lonzo Ball, because I think Lonzo Ball is a little bit better of a fit long term. But at the same time, I've liked Lauri so much better in the Thaddeus Young lineups. Obviously, Utah wasn't a very good game for anybody. He only shot 25% in that one. But he's had some really solid games lately, and stretch fours don't grow on trees. I'd like to see him in a situation where he can play a little bit more center even, but like I said, that he's got to improve as a rebounder. But at that point, no matter what the Bulls do, they need to be thinking about the future, not the present. It's great if you can make the playoffs this year, but you can't miss the forest for the trees. The goal is a championship. And so how are you setting yourself up for next season and the seasons following by acquiring young talent? And if you're giving away young talent like Markkanen, how are you still building on your future instead of getting somebody who might help you right now but is on the wrong side of 30?
So, for example, what do you think then? Do you think they hold on to him and let their player development department work with him? Because that's something that we've never had here in Chicago, is a player development department, not even a person, the whole department. would that behoove the Bulls to do that and see if they can, maximize this guy? Because if this guy is maximized and he gets the confidence that he's one of the best scorers in the league, because he can be, he has that skill set. Would it behoove the Bulls to give him one year here this season, where he's with Billy Donovan, he's with a new coach, he's with a player development department? Would it be a good idea to let this run its course at least for 1 year and see how much better he gets with the added support and help that the Bulls are offering him?
I would say so. I mean, it really depends. Like if someone blows the Bulls out of the water with a really sexy offer, maybe you want to take it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, he, what is he? 24 years old, 23 years old. Yeah, he's 23 years old, Larry Bird didn't come to the league till he's 23. Obviously those are two different animals, but I mean, like people forget that these guys are coming in, I couldn't grow a beard when I was 19. I was a senior in high school. It takes some time, I didn't dominate flag football in college because I was, I was a grown man. I was 25. You know what I mean? And so I'm running against these 19-year-olds, and I felt like I was at the Chuck E. Cheese's, But Lowry's still, he's a baby. He's 23. He's got it's science that he is going to get stronger. He is going to get more athletic, and unless he completely falls off a cliff mentally, he is on some sort of trajectory to be better, at least with Billy Donovan, since they're using him the right way. So yeah, why not? And then they're going to be in this situation in the offseason it's going to be inevitable, right? Like, let's say the Pelicans offer him $24 million for 3 years and the Bulls have an option to match. They're going to have to look at what happened between, right now and the end of the season and whatever kind of playoff run the Bulls have, and say, is it worth it? Because that's another thing. If you let him go now, if you trade now, you're for sure getting something back. Like if it's a Lonzo Ball trade, then you can trade for Lonzo with intent of working out a deal right away, because you don't want to lose assets. The best, I mean, he's had some trades that didn't work out, but the guy I always think of who does a great job at this is Danny Ainge. He's always acquiring assets. Even when the Celtics aren't very good, they had all those assets from the Nets trade with the Pierce and KG. And when they do have young assets, they usually don't lose them for nothing. And so it's, how can you turn those assets into pieces to build for the future? How can you make sure you don't just lose out completely on somebody who could potentially be a good player in the NBA? Because you don't want them to go be a good player in the NBA and you got nothing to show for it when they're an all-star.
And he was in your locker room, he was in your organization, in your building, and then he goes, yeah, that's the part that I'm concerned with the most, that Lowry goes.
Yeah.
And that's why I asked you if you want to keep him, because if he makes developments and strides that only, that you see, well, we'll see him too, because we'll see him and when he plays. But if he makes development and strides, imagine what another year in the player development department will do for this guy.
Yeah.
So, you just don't want to get rid of him too soon.
Yeah. I would do it for Lonzo, but that's about it.
Okay.
And that's kind of like pulling teeth for me. Like that one hurts. I think Lonzo is just a better fit. And I think that he's a more rare player. Like there are a lot of guys who can, shoot the three, and the fact that Larry's not a great rebounder, I'm just envisioning what the Bulls would look like with that traditional point guard, and maybe they can find someone else to fill Larry's shoes. Mm-hmm. Then that could be really valuable because it gives them the size, athleticism, and playmaking that Billy Ball is kind of built around, especially in that transition game we're seeing so much more of this year. It comes down to, like, look at what they're building. You know what I mean? They want Patrick Williams. They want Thaddeus Young. Even what they're doing with Satoransky. It's all about having these giant arms out on the wings, and they're not a very good defensive team yet, but it looks like they're trying to build into a very good defensive two-way team. So he'd fit.
What about my guy Daniel Gafford?
You
know, he hasn't been bringing that energy, and you know he's got to understand, and his representation has to talk to him and say, "Hey, this is the kind of guy you are." Where do you see him? Because he had a couple of DMPs, coaches' decisions, where he's getting just crap minutes. What's the situation with this guy? Because this guy is when he's on, when his mind's right. Dude, this guy's running up and down. He's blocking shots. He's running up and down the court. He's dunking on your head, playing good defenses. He's blocking shots. What's the deal right now? Right now, what's the deal with Daniel Gafford?
Oh, man. That's such a tough question. Like he's taken some small steps forward this year. This guy's another, relatively young guy, 22 years old. He had a nice game against the Pistons with his, 8 points and 11 rebounds and only 14 minutes. And that's what you're talking about, where sometimes he's like really bringing the energy, but that's the only game he's really gotten much play lately. And what's concerning to me is what I always look at on these bench pieces or guys who don't get consistent minutes is what are they doing per 36? If they're adjusted to starters minutes, and per 36, he's 13.8 points per game and 9.5 rebounds. And frankly, that's just not really cutting it. And as much as I like Gafford, I would rather see a more modern big man. And that's not super easy to come by, but Wendell Carter's not doing it for me. Daniel Gafford's not doing it for me. And that's the reason Thaddeus Young is our starting center right now. And, no disrespect to Thaddeus, like that's a compliment to him, right? But it would be nice to, instead of, like, I would in a heartbeat flip, I doubt that the Pacers would do this, right? But in a heartbeat, I would say take Gafford, take our first round pick, take Kobe White, take Wendell Carter, give us DeMontis Sabonis. I don't think the Pacers would do that, but if you can find a center who's able to give you 5+ assists on any given night, then it's going to open up everything. And the two kind of centers they have right now, like Wendell's maybe a little bit more modern, but I cringe every time he pulls up for a jump shot. Daniel Gafford doesn't really have any range, and he's just kind of like a pogo stick down there. And he's a good energy guy when he's on, and he's a good rebounder. He's a beast. Sometimes he's just posterizing people, right? Like I see the Taj Gibson comparison everyone says, but it's not 2011 anymore. And spacing's more important than it's ever been. And he's someone that you can't really space the floor with. And that makes it easier for the defense to guard you. And so the fact that the Bulls have all these centers that can't really play a versatile game is a little concerning to me. And I think that puts a cap on their potential for success.
Wow. Good, good stuff, man. Cause I'm thinking about it as well. And I didn't like the way they lost the other day. I definitely need to see a better effort from these guys. Talk to me about Kobe White. Kobe White is, he's one of the futures of the team, future members of this team. So we think, we drafted him where they did. But talk to me about him and this, because now he's getting more time. For me, I think it's more critical time. I like him on the second unit. I like him with the first. I want him to get as much time as possible because he only had 1 year in college. So there's no big moments that he had to deal with except for the ACC tournament or the NCAA tournament. You know what I mean? That was pretty much it. So for 1 year, this guy needs more seasoning. But talk to me about him and where you like his trajectory so far this year.
Kobe White turned 21 February 16th of this year. So this guy can now officially go grab a beer. Honestly, and this is This is a weird answer. It's not a super clear answer, but it seems like such a mental thing for him. Like when he has his confidence, he's absolutely electric. He's Jamal Crawford. He will shake you out of your shoes. He'll blow right by you. He's got the size. He's got the athleticism. He can beat you on that pull-up jumper, and there's not much you can do about it. But when he doesn't, he is a completely different basketball player. And it's concerning that, there's such a difference. It's like good Rex, bad Rex. You got good Kobe, bad Kobe, and he is in a horrific slump right now. In the last 5 games, he's just shooting 36%, shooting 35% from 3, but that's not going to really cut it anymore. He had a -23 plus minus against the Jazz. Obviously, that was a rough game for everyone.
Yeah.
But he struggled against the Pistons, which don't struggle against the bad teams. He had 17 points against the Nuggets. So that was like a good Kobe game, 3 of 3 from downtown, but struggled against the Spurs, 1 of 7 from downtown, 0 of 3 from downtown, against the Thunder in a team that, or in a game, he only had 4 points. And so in this last 5-game stretch, he's only averaging 9 points per game. And so, like I said, sometimes he's good, sometimes he's bad, but you haven't really seen much of a jump in his second year. And he's actually averaging 17.2 points per 36 minutes to 18.5 in his rookie season. So if you break it down per minute, he's actually dropped off a little bit, and that's concerning. I don't know what you do with Kobe White, because I guess you get him with a sports psychologist, like I've never talked to the guy, you know what I mean? But like,
how many times are we going to have to get athletes nowadays to talk to sports psychologists? How many times, it's,
I'm sure it's tremendous pressure. When I was 21, I'm at the College of DuPage, man, living the dream. And
I bet it's crazy for you.
Like when you're 21 and you're in the NBA and you got all this pressure, I'm sure it's really tough. And I'm not trying to necessarily make excuses for him, but yeah, he's got to rise to that occasion and whatever they can get him to do, because maybe his feelings are hurt. Maybe he's like, oh man, I'm not very good. I'm not the starter anymore. But he's got to get out there with maybe he needs a chip on his shoulder. Maybe he's just got to have somebody give him a good pep talk, but he's got to believe in himself and just go sauce people. We've seen him that he can do it. Maybe get Roy Williams, Roy Williams, hey, we need you at every game. Just sit in the stands. Make Kobe feel happy.
The mental fragility is, the fragile state of the mental state of athletes today is appalling, and it's bothersome. If you can't handle it, then don't come out after a year. See, everyone wants the money. But are you ready physically? Usually not.
Yeah.
Are you ready mentally? That's almost a definite no. Are you ready socially? I don't think so. You're 18 years old, 19 years old. Yeah, there's a lot that you still need to learn. You barely hit 20. You're not even 20 years old. So,
yeah.
If you're going to step in there, then you're going to get that criticism, because then stay your ass in school for 2 or 3 years. Okay. And then come out at that particular point. Don't sit there and say, oh, well, I'm developing the game. No. Your job, you're professional now. Don't develop the game. Okay. Because now it means you're giving it a built-in excuse for your lackluster performances.
Yeah. I completely agree. And especially when it comes to big men, some of these guys need to, like Markkanen. Can you imagine if he,
stayed at Arizona
a little bit longer, got to develop a little bit more physically, and, Kobe White, if he cleaned up on some ball handling stuff, like, it's not like they're putting themselves in a position to fail, because some guys can do it, but Luka Doncic, he was already playing professionally since he was, a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
And he came in polished, but he's an exception to the rule. And a lot of times you see these guys fail and they lose their confidence. And
then you gotta say, "Oh, it's okay, baby. It's okay. Just try harder next time." Give me a break, dude.
Yeah, you gotta sack up. This is a grown man's league, and it's concerning to me that I'm seeing this kind of like lack of confidence from Kobe White right now, because, and that's why I'd be okay with them trading him. You know, it's super early. He could be a really good player by 25. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying he's not going to be a good NBA player, but like maybe someone else sees that potential. But it just concerns me that there's like the two Kobes, man. Good Kobe, I love.
Yeah.
Bad Kobe, not only does he not play good defense, but he's pretty bad offensively too.
Yeah. So listen, hey, buddy, thanks a lot. We appreciate your time on Wednesdays, man. Do me a favor, let everyone know where they can follow you and your work online.
Yeah, absolutely. I got right here, Hoopstradamus 1. That's where we're on Twitter. You can follow the Hoopstradamus podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen. We just had a really good game show this weekend with former NBA player David Harrison came on for a little trivia. That was super fun, and he was on that Malice in the Palace team. So we have a episode recently where he talks about what was it like in the locker room after that game. That is just one of the craziest episodes we've ever had, and even talked about like the marijuana suspensions and the drug policy and an open letter to David Stern. Plenty of good nuggets in there. And so check that one out. And yeah, Shawn, I always love being on here, and I look forward to talking to you next week. And I think we're going to have some trades to talk about.
It might be. It very well might be. Hey, Adam, thanks, Papa. We'll talk soon.
Sounds good, man.
All righty. Guys, that's Adam Shalafu from the Hoopstradamus podcast, talking Bulls basketball right here on Shawn and Maya on SportsZone Chicago. Listen, we're going to take a quick break, and on the other side of the break, it's the home stretch, baby. Some more sports conversation. We're going to talk a little more about the Russell Wilson scenario. Oh, my God. And the Cactus League talk. So don't go anywhere, folks. Keep it locked right here. Shawn and Maya on SportsZone Chicago.
Take off your glasses, please. You look familiar. You got a record?
Yes, sir, he's got a record. He's got a great record. The Black Rooster, 13 KOs. Paco Aguilar, El Gallo Negro. He's got a great right uppercut.
AutomotiveMap.com presents the Sports Flash on 1330 and 95.9 The Zone.
Ethernet to Kane, to Shador off left point. Long wrist shot, he scores! And it may have been tipped in front by Pius Suter.
The action on the Blackhawks radio network. Chicago able to snap a 4-game skid with a 3-2 win over the Panthers. Kevin Lankinen with 33 saves in net. Patrick Kane with a pair of assists. First win against Florida in 5 tries this season. Last night's matchup, the opener of the 6-game homestand. Chicago had dropped 6 of 7 overall heading into last night's action. The team square off again Thursday night, 7 o'clock puck drop. Bulls and Cavaliers tonight, 7 o'clock tip-off at the United Center. Chicago coming off Monday's 120-95 home loss against Utah. The White Sox beat the Cubs 3-1 in Tuesday's spring training action. Dallas Keuchel, 4 innings, 1 hit, 3 strikeouts.
Chuck Sanders, that's the Sports Flash, 1330 95.9 The Zone.
At CDW, we get your employees need their data to go where they go.
That's why we started tattooing company data right on them.
Ow!
Now they have permanent access.
Ouch. Well, at CDW, we can transform your data center painlessly, on-prem and in the cloud, with the Dell technology solution, so your data isn't just available, it's powerful.
Whew. I was about to get these Q4 financials tattooed on my neck.
Close call. For technology that moves you forward, trust Dell Technologies and IT orchestration by CDW. People who get it. Learn more at cdw.com/DellTech.
Okay.
Indeed knows unexpected demand can stretch your business thin.
Leon speaking.
Like at Leon's Plumbing.
Sorry, quick as we can get there is next Friday.
To stay out of hot water, he needs to get started hiring right away.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. And the moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first sponsored job post. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back to Shawn and Maya in the morning on SportsZone Chicago. We just got done with our guy Adam Shalafu from the Hoopstradamus podcast, talking the Bulls basketball right here on Shawn and Maya on SportsZone Chicago. So, this Bulls team is an enigma. They're an enigma right now. And you know what? The fact is, it's tough to watch. And, we see improvements. We do. But it's not where we want. It's not what or let's put it this way, it's not as fast. And we have to remember, and again, I have to do this as well. Oftentimes, they're young. They're young. And they've been given millions of dollars, and they're expected to just come in ready. And that's what college basketball's for, is to develop players. And when you don't go to college, or you go for 1 year, there's not a lot of room for development. And so these guys have to develop on the fly. Developing on the fly takes time. There's good, there's bad, there's ugly. And so when you have someone struggle for 2 or 3 years, you're not necessarily being developed, okay, like you are in college. In college, man, practices are so much different in college than they are in the pro. In college, you work on the fundamentals, you work on footwork, you work on boxing out, you work on a whole bunch of different things. Your fundamentals are strong. Okay? If you don't believe me, look at Loyola. Look at teams who go deep into the playoffs, because or deep in a tournament, because of the fact that they're juniors, they're seniors, they've been together, they played alongside each other for a couple of years, and they're able to function as a team. Their fundamentals are good. Their fundamentals are strong. They've been honed and beaten down and done, been repetitive, drop step, rebounding, boxing out, good passes. All these things are done to develop players. So when you go to the NBA after a year and after AAU, from high school, the fundamentals are gone. The fundamentals aren't present. And it's a difficult thing now you have to teach youngsters fundamentals when for the last 4 years or 5 years, the fundamentals hasn't been stressed, and now it's stressed. And so now you don't want them necessarily to score. You want them to keep scoring if they're a scorer, but then they also have to box out. They also have to play defense. They also have to learn how to switch. There's a whole bunch of different things that the NBA game necessitates that these young guys just don't have because they haven't been developed. I get the fact that it's, you should be able, if you go to fight for your country, you can go earn a living. I get it. I think there should be a situation like the G League should be expanded a little more.
Like a work study.
Something.
So like this is your job, but while you have to at least one class. There's something like that. You know what I mean? Like something where yes, you could earn your living doing what you love, but we want to offer you this so you could develop as you know what I mean?
See, the problem is that there's players, there's a union. So practices can't be that long. And for me, like if you have a 2.5 hour practice, yeah, and you're a professional. God forbid you have a 2.5 hour practice. God forbid you work for 2.5 hours. Because I don't know who in their right mind would have worked more than 2.5 hours. God, I mean, it's not like you're working 8 hours, if we're working 8 hours a day. Oh yeah, regular people do. It bugs me to the point because, you don't ask a lot of these players. A lot is not these players. And so what do? They cop out and they bitch and moan like, Generation Z kids do. Go to work for 3 or 4 hours. So you practice for 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Okay. You should still be at the facility anyway. Getting extra work in. See, the problem is that because they've been so good, because now they got the money, some players or many players don't sit there and do the extra. You take great players, they're the first ones in and they're the last ones to leave. And you know what? You should have guys at the Bertle, actually it's not the Bertle Center, it's the what's the medical group they're at? The Advocate Center. You should have guys at the Advocate Center there for 5 hours. Okay? From practice, an hour and a half to 2 hours, to watching film, to lifting weights, to stretching, to getting in a hot tub, to getting massages. Your ass should be there. Your ass should be at the facility doing all these things for your body and for your team. So, if guys go there for practice and leave, or maybe do a little weightlifting or something, come on, guys. Like I need to know the level of dedication that some of these guys have. I need to know. The championship teams that I've been a part of, oftentimes we didn't stay after because that was our drinking time. But we were there beforehand. When I'm playing with the Thunder. Practice started at 7 to 9. I'm there at 5:30. We're there, and a majority of it, there was a good number, 20, 25 people were there at 5:30, between 5:30 and 6. And then we're doing DBs, they're doing drills, they're doing footwork drills, offense, wide receivers, and we're doing footwork drills too. We're doing sprints, we're doing a whole bunch of different things for practice. Okay, defenders are doing jump balls, ripping the ball out of trying to rip out each other's hand. Okay, so when they go up for jump balls, they're familiar with the situation. I can't understand, and I don't know. I can't understand not spending a full day at the facility, because they feed you, they have food there for you, they have a personal chef there for you. You have everything you need at the facility. Why is this not your second place? You should spend more time at the facility than you do at home.
Yeah, I mean, like they're offering you every accommodation, and this is as a young athlete. We talk about the difference between this generation and an older generation. It's more so that they want everything. It's like they want to be involved in everything. You know what I'm saying? They want to be in social. They want to be with their friends. They want to be out and about. They want to do, but it shows in their play, and it shows in the lack of development of polished players, like you said, in a Luka Doncic, and guys and players that end up staying in college for years. For me, I just feel like it's kind of that mentality has something to do with it, where it's like, it's not a full commitment. I play. It's like I'm a basketball player, but you're not striving to be the best. Like you're just there going through the motions. I make X amount of money. I could do this over and over. They want me here at a set time, and this is the set time I'm going to give them, and then I'm out. Like, you're just treating it like a 9 to 5 and not like your profession.
Yeah, and it's frustrating to see the what you talked about. So many underdeveloped players. So many underdeveloped players in the NBA. All right, you just see raw athleticism, raw talent. Okay, but to see these guys, and this is why there's so few of the Kobe, Stephs, and the LeBrons and the KDs and the Beards, the James Harden's, Russell Westbrook. This is why you don't see a certain amount, the Dame Lillards, because they refuse. They don't do the work. They refuse to do the work. All right, they don't. When they get and you sit there and like, oh well, he got to the game an hour and a half before. Yeah, but how long was he at the practice yesterday? How long was he there before? How early did he get to practice? How late did he stay after practice? Is he hitting 1,000 jumpers or 2,000 jumpers or 5,000 jumpers after practice? Okay, things that make you better. Why the hell do you think Damian Lillard can come across half court or should stand on half court and nail the three at a consistent basis? Because this is practice. Because he's done it to the point. Because he wants to be great. There's an old saying, there's no traffic on the extra mile. And, players, myself included, and other people who've been very successful in their craft, in their sport, can tell you there's countless hours that they've done doing extra. Whether it be footwork drills, whether it be rebounding, whether it be up and unders. You know, if you're a post player, you work on your post moves, you work on rebounding, you work on tipping the ball into the end, or off the glass into the basket. You know, there's a lot of things you do. Okay, then you hit the weight room. Okay, and then you get a massage, then you get a hot tub or a cold tub. There's so many different things that you can do to work, and we would see it on the court. Okay. One of the leaders, one of the veterans I don't know who the captains are, but they need to say, hey, listen, when practice is done, let's work on this. All right, let's work on this pick and roll here, you know, because I want to throw it up to you a little more often, Daniel Gafford. All right, Thaddeus Young. And then you know what? Hey, Zach and Kobe White, you guys work on a pick and roll with the guards. Now we're, you know, pick and pop. Okay, now there's so many. This attitude has to grow, and you'll tell if it grows by the type of performance that the Bulls have on the court. You can tell the Golden State Warriors back in their heyday, they were at practice at the facility for a long time because Steph just wouldn't refuse to miss. Clay just refused to miss. Draymond Green had so many moves underneath. You're like, how the hell did he get that in? He's not very athletic. But these are all things you practice. So my bullies they're in a situation right now where they need a leader, and they need a leader to say, hey, listen, you got to lift weights. You got to stretch. Okay. You need to get massages. We need to work on this. We need to work on that. You need to work on your ball handling. You need to work on your bounce passes. And trust me, the coaches are there. The players are there. Your teammates will be there if you say, hey, listen, let's do this because I want to get better. It boggles my mind. But listen, let's switch gears a little bit, talk a little Cactus League action. So one of the things that, you know, we talked about the White Sox beating the Cubs yesterday, and that was great and fine and dandy, and we could have a parade and everything. But, you know, I'm worried about this fifth starter, okay? I was very happy that Ray Lopez got sent down. They can still consider him a starter. I was excited and ecstatic that Carlos Rodon got that fifth slot. This starting five is going to be one that the White Sox they might surprise a lot of people because you got the three aces. All right, we mentioned those: Keiko, Giolito, and Lynn. Dylan Cease. If he can have the year that people are anticipating him having, he's going to be in that ace category. That's 4. Carlos Rodon. Carlos Rodon was the opening day pitcher just a couple of years ago. He was the ace of the staff. That's 5. That's a nice rotation, especially at the end of the rotation, 4 and 5. You got some good pitchers again. Because when you face 4 or 5, you have a lot of teams in the show that don't have a 4 and 5. So a lot of teams don't have a 3, 4, and 5. You have one ace. You have a second guy who you feel pretty good about winning every time. And then after that, it's a lot of busters, a lot of bums. Guys are trying to find out. Guys are trying to develop. But the White Sox got a staff. And I think for Carlos Rodon, I think that was huge. Remember, he got a non-tendered offer, non-guaranteed offer coming into camp. Like, you got to fight, Papa. You don't have a spot on this roster. He's like, okay. He comes to the spring training. He fights it out. He beats Ray Lopez. Luckily, Ray Lopez had some options, so they sent him back down to the training facility. I think it's Schaumburg where they have those guys at. And they're going to bring him in spot starts. I'm liking this rotation. I really, and the guy that I really want to watch that I'm really going to have all eyes on, and I didn't even mention Michael Kopech yet. I didn't even mention him. But the guy that I'm going to watch is Dylan Cease. Because you do realize that next year, Kopech's going to be a starter. Kopech's going to come out of the bullpen this year. It may even be later in the year. And then you got Garrett Crochet coming down the pipeline as well. He's going to be a reliever this year. And they might start him again, but next year he's most likely going to be a starter. So what happens if Dylan Cease turns it up a notch and becomes a stud? And Michael Kopech, you saw before he left in his very short time, and now you got Garrett Crochet, a lefty. This is an embarrassment of riches when it comes to the starting rotation for the White Sox. We're not used to this on the South Side. We're not used to this type of this glutton of talent that we have Now it's just got to come together. It's just got to come together. I think offensively, I think there's going to be big years for Yoel Moncada, a big year for him, a big year for Eloy and Lubab. I think it'll be Eloy. Not to say that it's not going to be a big year for Lubab. I think it's going to be a bigger year for Eloy. I think, I'm telling you, more and more, but by the day, I am liking this Tony La Russa signing more and more. By the day, it grows for me. By the day. He's old school to a certain point. He demands respect. When he tells you to do something, you do it. His mastery of the X's and O's and using rotations and in-game decisions is second to none. And he's got a young team full of talent that's ready to be coached, ready to be managed, ready to be directed and guided to a championship. All they got to do is listen. That's all they got to do. All you got to do is listen. Listen to this guy. Because he's not a Hall of Fame manager for nothing. He's not a Hall of Fame manager for nothing. There's a reason. Okay? There's a reason. I don't know. Ivan, what's going on with your people up north?
Well, I like the performance of Jake Arrieta yesterday. I thought that was really reassuring going into the season. 5 hits is 5 hits, but 1 run against that lineup, that was really good. And you saw the command he had. It wasn't like he had any type of control. He looked confident up there. He looked like he didn't look like the Jake Arrieta of old, but he looked solid. He looked good. I'm more impressed with Nico Horner. There was a big at bat when who's he? Crochet came in. It was after Keuchel. Crochet comes in, and he delivers a double. You know what I mean? He delivers a smack that brings in a run to tie the game at 1-0. And I'm thinking, and I mentioned it before with Joseph. This is a game where it was being taken seriously. You know what I mean? Like it was being played somewhat with a purpose. The purpose in the end was to find a way to win. So I feel like in a moment like that where I was like, hey, it's 1-0. They just brought their big reliever out, a guy that throws triple digits. Nico sat in there and drove a shot to the outfield that drove in a run and got the Cubs on the board. That's the type of stuff that I want to see from this Cubs team throughout the year, is consistently hitting with runners in scoring position and extending games, making games different, changing the approach of the other team. You know what I mean? That's huge. Getting the other team not confident in how the game flow is going. That's a part of it. So I feel like Nico Horner to me was impressive. The Cubs in general have been impressive this spring training. And it's not as impressive as like, oh man, they're hitting the ball at the ballpark or the wind. They just seem like they're a confident group. That nothing. It just seems like they haven't been bothered by anything. No talks of trades, nothing else. They're just kind of focusing on each other, as a team down there in Arizona. And I feel like that's going to be a positive for them coming into this year. You're on mute.
It's okay that they're under the radar. I think that's great that they're under the radar. Mm-hmm. I really do.
Yeah,
I really do, because I think it gives them motivation. I think it gives them time to really focus and not worry about any expectations that people have for this team, because there's not a lot of expectations for this team. They're talking about the fire sale, talking about letting Schwarber go. They're talking about letting Darvish go, getting rid of Darvish. But how many people are talking about Jock Peterson? That dude had like 35 home runs in spring training. Like, what the frick is going on? So here, you let Kyle Schwarber go, but then Jock Peterson is showing you the power that you were hoping Schwarber would have. Okay, and it's contract years for just about the entire core. You don't think they're going to have? They're going to want to make that money? Heck yeah, they're going to want to make that money. I think it's going to be a good season for you guys. due to all those factors, and then the fact they're trying to prove everybody wrong, trying to, you know what, hey, we're not horrible. We're not, you know, it's the window's not closed. We let a few people go, but the window's not closed. We still have 5.
It'll be if the Cubs hit. I would say the Cubs are 85 to 90 would be like, oh wow, they're gonna win the division. They could win the division in that range. I feel like, but you know, it wouldn't surprise me if they overachieved a little bit. Maybe they got to like 93 wins, something like that. I just feel like the Cubs right now, you know, like you said, under the radar, and I was knocking them. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, I don't know if this team could, you know, if they could put together a team that's viable. And right now, the way that they're looking with the pitching, with the pitching free agents that they got and Trevor Williams, you know, and the core right now, and some of the younger guys and Ian Happ, Nico Horner, like this team, you know, quietly looks pretty solid. And like I said, and right after the season, you know, like I said, we were all questioning, like, what the hell are they going to do? Like, what? Theo's gone. They're moving on. It looks like a fire sale. They're getting rid of you. They're doing all this. But right now, to me, you know, and like I said, it's spring training, and spring training don't mean ish. Right now, they look really, really good. They look like they're a team that's going to be fighting deep into September.
I'm hoping that David Ross really gets them focused on the fundamentals. I really hope he puts, you know, just like I want La Russa on the south side, put pressure on the defense.
Mm-hmm.
Get these guys. Listen, Javi, I know you're freaking stud. I know you are. Okay, I need you to bunt. I need you to bunt and beat it out down the first base line. Why? Because the third baseman's back. All right, the shortstop is back. Okay, or bunt it down the first base line because they got a shift on for you. There's a whole bunch of different things that this team needs to do in order to keep defenses on the off balance. You have Bryant can run, Baez can run, Contreras can run. You have guys who can run. Okay, use that speed to your advantage, because if you're fundamentally sound on the north side, you still got pop. You still got a lot of pop on that north side. And if you add that dimension where, damn, Javi might lay down a bunt. Oh, snap. Do we bring, you know what I mean? Now you're thinking, what is this guy going to do?
Yeah. And you never know who's available at the trade deadline. You know what I mean? Like, you never know what could happen at that trade deadline that would make the Cubs say, hey, you know what? Let's do this. You know, let's try this. Let's try that. But I nothing major, but you could find a guy that can make your team, that could just push your team over the edge a little bit. You know what I mean? Whether it be pitching or whether it be on the field. I just feel like the Cubs are in a good spot.
I think they are too. I think they're right where they need to be, and that's under the radar. I think they're kind of, I don't want to say licking their wounds. I think they're kind of regrouping right now. I think they're regrouping and just ready, and have everybody look at Milwaukee. Everyone kind of look over at St. Louis and say, hey, you know what? You can talk about them all you want. That doesn't mean jack squat. It comes to playing between the lines. And I think the Cubs, I think David Ross is going to use that as motivation. And I think because of all the guys who are in contract years, I think you're going to see a team just explode. It's just my thought. I think you're going to see a team that just explodes. And man, if I'm hoping my only question is the rotation. That's it. That's the only question I have. I mean, you got the professor who got the word yesterday. He got the starting nod opening day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got who's your other Alec Mills.
Yeah, we had Azalai.
So you know, you actually got some like Azalai is a guy that you guys really want to see. You want to see what he can do over a whole season. He has good stuff. Yeah. In the few appearances that he has good stuff. He was pretty highly rated in your farm system. Now it's time to step up.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's time to step up. And you know what? I couldn't think of a better situation for young pitchers than to have Arrieta as your freaking mentor. Okay, you can't put a better mentor for young pitchers. His attitude, his mindset, the way he attacks batters. This is and the guy is a Cy Young Award Cy Young Award winner. You know, what else? What else do you want? What can you need for these youngsters to develop? This is your player development system right here. A guy that you can who use brain you can pick.
And I hope that that continues, man, because the more that the Cubs build up slowly but surely their farm system and their younger players, the better off they are, man. I just don't want them to be depleted the next time they really try to make a run. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hey, listen, 3 hours has come and gone. What a phenomenal show. I want to thank my guest, Lauren Cox, for calling Talking Bears. I want to thank Adam Shalafu for calling Talking Bulls. I want to thank Joseph Phillips for sitting with us in the first hour of every show in the top of the morning section. I definitely want to thank my guy right here, the Puerto Rican Swiss Army knife, Ivan Vargas. All of us together, we made it a great show, guys. Thanks a lot. I also want to thank Elliot Baez, our executive producer. I want to thank Clarence Council, our social media guy, and then my co-host at Essential, Maya Kai. Great show. So we're going to take a 45-hour break, and I try to get Beth on here. I'll see if she's available Monday because we got Phil coming on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk to her. I want to talk to her about the Deshaun Watson situation. I need female voices about the Deshaun Watson thing. So we're going to reach out to Beth and see if she can come on Monday. And maybe, you know what, I'll reach out to a couple other my friends in the industry just for that specific purpose alone.
Right.
Because I definitely want to see what women are saying, you know, what their thought is. And I can only think like a man because I'm a man, and we need a woman's perspective on this whole thing, because sometimes women know. Sometimes women will say, hey, this looks like a setup. This looks like a setup, and they're going after them. It's a witch hunt.
Right.
And that's I just want a woman's perspective to give it to kind of balance to counterbalance our perspectives. So for everyone I mentioned, Elliot Baez, Clarence Council, Maya Kai, and my guy Ivan Vargas.
Hey guys, make sure to check out Halitech Hall tonight, 6:30 to 8 o'clock, and then after that, from 8 to 9 will be Jamar Harp with Sports 101. Should be two good shows tonight. I'm looking forward to it. Should be fun. Check us out, 6:30 to 8, and then 8 to 9.
Great stuff, guys. I'm your boy, the Superback Shawn Sierra. So in 45 hours, we'll see you. So until then, make sure you download the app. If you haven't downloaded the app, I need you to do two things. Download the app. Wherever you get your apps from, please download SportsZone Chicago. And I need you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Okay? Go to YouTube, subscribe, Google, or put it in the search bar, SportsZone Chicago, and subscribe. Download the app, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And with that, I got two more words for you, folks. We're out.